Hey guys, you are watching your anime world. How are you all? Please support to subscribe this channel for watching new interesting stories. So in this video, we will see second part. What if Deku has the shapeshift quirk? Here is short summary. What if instead of having the greatest heroes in his corner, what if Izuku had the animal kingdom in his corner? Izuku has a quirk, but not Alpha. Smart Izuku, strong Izuku, possible harm or just one. But before we start, if you want more stuff like this, then be sure to subscribe and like this video. And if possible, share this video with your friends. Now let's start the story. As the Nomu punched Izuku into the ground constantly, Melissa charged the Nomu to get it off her classmate. Making it to the beast, she tries to pull it off Izuku, but the Nomu wouldn't budge as it continued to push Izuku into the ground. Seeing her boyfriend being beaten into the ground, Pony used her horns to fly down to help him. But even with 4 horns and Melissa trying to help, the Nomu wouldn't stop. Seeing the opening, the hand villain ran to try and grab the girls and kill them, but before he could make it, something he wasn't expecting happened. Landing in front of the Nomu with his hands glowing bright was Katsuki, pointing his gauntlet hands right at the Nomu's face. "Get the hell away from my brother!" yelled out Katsuki, blasting the Nomu in the face with a massive explosion, sending the creature flying. As the smoke cleared, there was a face of rage on Katsuki as he stood there facing the Nomu that was getting off the ground. It fell in when it was blasted away. As the hand villain was distracted by his creature being sent flying, he was surprised when 2 boys tried to hit him with their hardened skin. Jumping away, the hand villain was right back where he started, next to the mist villain. Getting out of the hole in the ground with the help of Melissa and Pony, Izuku was mad. Izuku was ready to rip that black bastard apart. "Can you still fight?" asked Katsuki to Izuku. "Do you have enough sweat to make an explosion?" asked Izuku rhetorically, as his wounds healed and any internal injuries were fixed. Katsuki didn't answer, but he did smile and light a couple little explosions in his hands. Knowing that his brother was ready to fight, Izuku looked to the others with him to see who could help fight the villains. Pony head back to the others at the top of the stairs. "We can handle these guys," said Izuku to Pony. "Kirishima, Tetsu, you 2 handle the mist villain. Toguru makes sure the others get back to the stairs safely. Melissa, you should go with them. If someone gets around us, then you have more than enough strength to deal with them," said Izuku to the other students. With some complaints, the students went to do their tasks. Seeing that his girlfriend was safely away, Izuku turned back to the Nomu and got into a stance next to his brother. "This is going to hurt, isn't it?" asked Katsuki. "Yeah, but it is going to hurt a lot more for him," said Izuku, as his body began to change, growing more arms and ankle plates, adding the strength of the dung beetle to himself. "Yingji, Asura form," thought Izuku as his instincts kicked in, making his eyes red again. "Nomu, kill them already," yelled the hand villain, as the Nomu charged the 2 boys. Seeing that their opponent was charging, both boys knew what they needed to do. Blasting off, Katsuki went above the Nomu as Izuku went straight to the beast. Slamming into the beast caused a small shockwave to come from the 2, as Izuku grabbed the Nomu's arms and held them in place as he started to punch with his other arms. Not seeing any reaction from the beast and knowing how much power is behind one of Izuku's punches, Katsuki knew he could go all out on the Nomu. Landing behind the beast, Katsuki started to blast his explosions at the Nomu. As the heat and force of the explosions were hitting the Nomu's back, Katsuki could see that the skin on its back was starting to blister from the heat. But the damage was being healed faster than both boys could make it. After a couple of seconds of being attacked, the Nomu managed to get its arms out of Izuku's grasp and backhanded Izuku away before turning around and trying to punch Katsuki. Using his explosion, Katsuki redirected the Nomu's arm away from himself, but wasn't ready for the other punch to hit him in the side, sending him flying. Seeing his brother being hit, Izuku knew that Katsuki would be in some pain given that the Nomu could hit really hard. Charging back in, Izuku tackled the Nomu using 2 hands each to hold the Nomu's arms away from his body, as his other 2 went around the Nomu's neck, putting it in a choke hold, while wrapping his legs around the Nomu's torso to give him a better chance of not getting thrown off. As the beast thrashed around while its airway was being crushed, Izuku managed to get the Nomu's chest to face the sky with himself under the creature, giving his brother a place to start attacking. Katsuki had seen what his brother did and used the opportunity to land on the chest of the Nomu and put his hands on the Nomu's chest and used one of the super moves he made with his brother for the first time. Concussive detonation, yelled Katsuki, as a wave of concussive force went through the Nomu and a wave of flames washed over the top of the Nomu's body. After the attack was done, the Nomu stopped moving for a second as blood started to come out of the Nomu's mouth. Getting away from the Nomu, the two boys looked at it, then at each other. "Are you okay?" asked Izuku. "Yeah, a couple broken ribs. But I will live. As for the fact that I just killed that thing, I don't know," said Katsuki as he held his side and took deep breaths. The boys were about to walk away when they heard yelling from above them. Looking up, the two could see Tetsu and Kirishima falling, moving out of the way as the two hard heads hit the ground. Looking back at the other villains, they could see the hand villain vigorously scratching his neck and saying something about cheating and how things aren't fair, and the mist villain was next to him with a lot of craters in the ground. "Damn it, damn it, damn it, it's not fair, they cheated somehow. Damn it, Nomu, get up and kill these brats," yelled out the hand villain. Seeing the villain acting like a child was a weird sight for the students, as Kirishima and Tetsu were thinking that the villain had a couple screws loose. Will Izuku and Katsuki have other thoughts on their minds? He can't be the one behind this. He acts too immature to get all these people together, thought the two boys. After having a second or two of thought about the villain in front of them, Izuku changed back to normal to relax his muscles and to save stamina. But this was a bad idea when his instincts went off like crazy as a shadow appeared over them. Before Izuku could see anything, a massive black fist went past him and slammed into Katsuki's chest, leaving a visible imprint and causing blood to come out of his mouth, flying into Kirishima and Tetsu. Gotcha! Izuku was cut off by another hand, slamming him back to the shipwreck zone with a massive splash into the water. Seeing their classmates get clobbered made the students on the stairs go white in fear, and caused some of the other students that were just making it to the plaza stop and be frozen. The students from the other zones thought they would be safe with the others, especially with their strongest classmates, but to see two of them getting ragdolled caused them to be filled with fear. But to a couple of girls it was a nightmare. Pony, Itsuka, and Kami had tears rolling down their faces. Holding Katsuki, Kirishima and Tetsu were trying their best to help him breathe after the punch. "Ha Bakugo, breathe man. Are you okay?" asked Kirishima, coughing from the punch, and trying his best to not pass out. Katsuki tried to tell Kirishima something. Hearing a cry from the Nomu as it charged at them, the two students that could still fight got ready to take the hit, but were surprised when it was frozen in ice. Looking at the origin of the ice, the students could see Todoroki standing there with his right hand on the ground. "Move, get him out of there," yelled Todoroki. Knowing that the Nomu creature would break out of the ice soon, the two boys picked up Katsuki and started running to the stairs. Hearing the breaking of ice behind them, the two knew they made the right choice. Sending ice at the Nomu, Todoroki was making a safe passing point for the other students to make it to the stairs to get out, but Todoroki knew that he wouldn't be able to stop the beast with just his ice, but he refused to use his fire. Seeing that almost everyone was back at the stairs, Todoroki turned to see that Pony was running to the water where Izuku was sent flying. Knowing that he needed to get her out of there was the only thing he could think of. Grabbing the girl who tried her best to get out of his grasp and running to the stairs, Todoroki could see that Pony was looking at the water where Izuku was sent, and knew what she wanted but knew that the area was dangerous. But before he could make it to the stairs, the Nomu stopped him and sent him and Pony away from their destination, landing closer to the shipwreck zone. Getting back to his feet, Todoroki stood in front of Pony with Nomu walking closer to them. Knowing that he had to use everything he had to survive, Todoroki was about to light his left side ablaze, but he heard the splash of water. Before he could turn around, a massive snake head went flying past him and bit the neck of the Nomu, lifting the creature up in the air with the rest of the body coming from the water. To see a creature break Todoroki's ice was one thing for the students, but a massive 42-foot-long snake come out of the water and lifted said creature with its mouth was a completely different case. Some of the students were confused as to what it was, but one person knew what she was seeing. "That's Titanoboa, an extinct species of snake," said Setsuna. Hearing that it was a prehistoric creature made the other students happy, knowing that there was only one person in their class that could change into said creature. Itsuka and Kami were holding each other in relief, seeing Izuku was okay. Seeing his brother fighting the Nomu made Katsuki happy, but after looking a little longer he was more scared than anything. Trying to get the two boys there to let him go, but failing, Katsuki tried yelling to Izuku but nothing came out but coughs and wheezes. "Bakugo, you need to stop moving, it will only make things worse," said Kirishima, putting Katsuki down at the top of the stairs. "Ya, don't worry, we can go and help Midoriya," said Tetsu. "Oh no, you can. He will hurt you," said Katsuki with a lot of coughing. "What do you mean he would hurt them? Why would Izuku hurt them?" asked Pony. "He's in a rage," said Katsuki. "Look, Izuku is crushing the black creature," said Setsuna, pointing at the two. After flailing the Nomu in the air for a while, Izuku slammed the beast to the ground and started to wrap his body around the creature. Using his mouth to keep hold of the Nomu, and getting his full body around the Nomu, Izuku started to constrict, applying more and more force to his prey. For in this moment there was no Izuku, just a predator fighting its prey. Izuku was running off pure instinct and rage at the moment, all rational thoughts set aside. The Nomu tried to get out of Izuku's hold, but even with super strength it is no match to having the crushing weight of 3 Eiffel Towers put on top of you. Seeing that the Nomu was not getting out, the hand villain was about to charge in and kill Izuku but was stopped by the sound of the front doors being blasted off their hinges. "Have no fear, students. Why? Because I am here," said All Might, ripping his tie from his neck and wearing an angry expression on his face. Looking around at the sight in front of him, All Might knew what he needed to do. Dashing to the central plaza, he came face to face with the Nomu creature that was being crushed by Izuku, and the two other villains standing a little ways away. Seeing that Izuku had the creature on lockdown, All Might looked to the other villains. "You are defeated, surrender now and come peacefully. If not, I will be forced to bring you down," said All Might with his booming voice, stomping the ground, causing it to crack for added effect. Damn it, this is not how it was supposed to go. We were here to kill All Might, not to get stopped by children," yelled out the hand villain, about to charge the #1 hero, but was stopped by the mist villain. "Young Shigaraki, we need to retreat," said the mist villain, pulling the now named Shigaraki through a portal as he was yelling and trying to get out of the portal. Seeing the villains trying to escape, All Might dashed to them trying to grab them, but all he grabbed was a handful of black mist that disappeared after a second or two. "Damn it," yelled All Might, knowing that if he was only a little faster he could have made it. After turning around to look at the Nomu and Izuku, All Might see that Izuku was still crushing the creature. And that even though blood was coming out of the creature's mouth, it was still fighting to get out and trying to kill Izuku. Making his way to his student, All Might was about to help his student hold the creature, but the Nomu had enough and bite Izuku on the side of his body, causing Izuku to release his jaws from the Nomu's neck, but it also made him increase the force of his constriction, collapsing the Nomu's body in on itself. With a wave of anger and a radiating aura of killing intent that everyone could feel, Izuku changed his top half back to a human, but his teeth were still really sharp. Grabbing the Nomu's jaws with his hands, he prized his mouth open and away from his body, holding it in place. Izuku had a large amount of smoke coming from his mouth. Seeing this, All Might dashed to the two trying to stop his student. "Young man, stop," said All Might. But Izuku was faster, blasting a large amount fired straight down the Nomu's throat, burning the creature's insides, until its head melted away from its body. Feeling the body going limp, Izuku changed back to normal, holding the Nomu's head as its body fell to the ground, looking like a crushed can. Looking to the sky and releasing a massive roar that could have only been described as a monster's roar. Izuku dropped his head and fell on his back, passing out from the actions he had done. Catching the young man, All Might have looked at the boy and checked for a pulse, finding one, knew that the boy was just asleep from exhaustion. After witnessing their classmate's power and his anger, some of the students were shocked, some were scared, some were in awe at the amount of power. Bakugo, on the other hand, was doing everything he could to try and get out of Kirishima's and Tetsu grips to get to Izuku. But the two hardheads refused to let the injured boy go. As the boys were holding Bakugo, no one was stopping Pony from sprinting to All Might, who was holding Izuku in his arms, with Itsuka and Kami hot on her heels. "Does her horse-like feet make her faster, or is it Izuku?" asked Kami, with Itsuka giving her a weird look. "Sorry, I make jokes when I am nervous," said Kami. As the girls were making it to Izuku, All Might could see that the girls were very worried about the boy, so he handed Izuku over to them, seeing steam coming off himself. Grabbing Izuku, Pony hugged him so tight, All Might almost thought she would squeeze the remaining life out of him. But once the other two girls made it to him, All Might could tell the boy would be okay. As the girls were holding him, other heroes ran by them, arresting the knocked-out villains, and helping the other students make it back to the rest of the class. "You girls know that it would be easier for me to heal the boy if you would stop smothering him," said Recovery Girl. With a great amount of hesitation and a little help from some of the other heroes, the girls finally let Recovery Girl do her job and heal the wounds that hadn't already been healed by his natural healing factor. Once Recovery Girl had him healed, all of the students were moved outside, where some of them got medical attention and interviewed by the police. As Kirishima and Tetsu were struggling to get Bakugo into an ambulance and to not run away, Bakugo wouldn't stop yelling. "Let go of me, you dumbass blockheads, I am fine," yelled out Bakugo. "You have multiple broken ribs, ruptured organs, internal bleeding, a possible concussion, a fracture on your T9 and T10 vertebrae. You are anything but fine," said the medic in the ambulance, trying to help Bakugo. "Off, I can walk it off. I need to get to," said Bakugo before passing out. "Wait, what happened to him? Is he okay?" asked Kirishima. "He is fine. It is just my quirk. I can put anyone I touch to sleep. It helps when I need to put a patient under to make them calm," said the medic. Closing the ambulance doors, Kirishima and Tetsu went back to the rest of the class, while in another ambulance was Izuku with Pony, Itsuka, and Kami in the ambulance with him refusing to leave. So the paramedic had them keep an eye on him until he made his way to the hospital. Sitting in the back of the ambulance, all the girls were holding some part of Izuku to have some kinda connection to him. Back at the USJ, the police had interviewed the students and proceeded to help get the rest of the villains into the police cars. Over away from the other students was Melissa and a very skinny man with bright golden hair who was coughing up blood. "You need to get some help. Papa could help you and maybe find a better solution to the problem." "Please, Uncle Might," asked Melissa. "No, I need to be here. To train the next generation of heroes and to train you. I have been living with this injury for a while, and my power is still enough to fight the good fight and keep people safe. Once I am out of juice, I will gladly go into retirement, knowing that I helped keep the future safe. So please don't worry about me, you should worry about your friends and fellow classmates. One of which did save your life from what I heard, something that shouldn't have happened if I had just been here," said All Might. "But Uncle Might," said Melissa before being cut off by All Might. "No, it's okay. But let's go back to your friends. Come on," said All Might, motioning towards the classes that were all together. Hospital. As the Bakugos and the Midoriyas arrived at the hospital, they were escorted to the respective rooms of their children. With Mitsuki Bakugo yelling at her son and hitting him over the head before hugging him, to Inko Midoriya almost flooding the room with her tears as her husband held her with their son unconscious in the bed with the three girls still at his side. After a couple of minutes and Mitsuki calming Inko down, the doctor came to give the news about their sons. "Hello, which one of you are the Bakugos?" asked the doctor. "That would be us. What can you tell us, doctor?" answered Masaru. "Well, the good news is your son will make a complete recovery and will be back in fighting shape in no time. He had a couple broken ribs that we set and healed, he had some internal bleeding but luckily no overly damaged organs, so we stopped the bleeding and patched him up. Finally, he did have a small fracture on his T9 and a micro fracture on his T10 vertebrae, but they were healed and the worst he will have is some little pain for the next couple days," said the doctor. "That's great to hear. Thank you, doctor. By any chance do you have any information on Izuku Midoriya?" asked Masaru. "Actually, that is the other patient came to talk about. I take it you are his parents?" asked the doctor, turning to look at Inko and Hisashi. "Yes, I am his father and this is his mother. What can you tell us about our son?" asked Hisashi. Your son, at first glance, seemed to be in pretty bad shape. But after some tests and cleaning it wasn't that bad. He had some minor cuts that his natural healing fixed along with the puncture wounds he had. The only big parts were that he had worked himself to unconsciousness, and he put a lot of strain on his muscles and tendons from his quirk. In basic terms, your son's body has gone through the equivalent of a 3-day-long super hard workout session with no breaks. He will be out for about a day, maybe 2 at the worst, but let him rest and give him healthy energizing food and he should be back in school in about 3 to 4 days total, said the doctor, bowing and walking off. See Inko, those 2 brats are too stubborn to be out of the fight for too long, said Mitsuki, hugging Inko, who looked like she was about to start crying again. With the news and his wife in good hands, Hisashi walked into his son's room and walked to the girls. Just thought you girls would like to know. Izuku is going to be okay. He just needs a couple days to relax and get his strength back, said Hisashi, seeing the look of relief on the girls' faces. After Mitsuki had calmed Inko down and some time had passed, Hisashi had the girls leave Izuku's side for a short time and tell them what happened. So who would like to tell us what happened? Asked Hisashi. Stepping up, Itsuka started talking. Well, we walked into the USJ and before we could even start the class, a villain teleported a massive amount of other villains into the USJ. We got separated and Izuku ended up fighting a creature that scared him and was made to fight All Might and kill him. At one point he and Bakugo fought the monster and they thought they killed it, but it got back up and punched both boys. While Bakugo was injured, Izuku was sent into the water area, and when he came out of the water, he was a giant snake, said Itsuka before being interrupted by Kami. I think that Setsuna called it Titanoboa, said Kami. Yeah, that, and he bit and slammed the monster into the ground and started crushing it. All Might showed up and knocked out the remaining villains and made the teleporting villain run away. But while this happened, the monster that Izuku was fighting bit him and he went crazy and changed his upper half back to human and pried the monster's mouth open and blasted fire down its throat till its head melted off its body before changing back to normal and passing out. But one thing that I was confused about was something Bakugo said. He said that Izuku was in a rage or something, said Itsuka, with the other 2 girls agreeing with her. Hearing what their son did, the Midoriyas were shocked, but more at the fact that their son fought something that was made to kill All Might, than the fact their son killed the thing and went into a rage. Well, I knew one day his rage might come out, but to think he was strong enough to fight something that was supposed to kill All Might. That is some pretty interesting stuff, said Hisashi with Inko hitting him. Wait, you're not surprised that Izuku went into a rage? Asked Itsuka. No, this isn't the first time, but from the sound of it, this might be the worst. The first time he had a rage was when we went to a zoo and a lion got out of its cage and scared a little kid. Izuku went into protector mode and changed into a gorilla and stopped the lion, almost breaking the lion's legs. It was some crazy shit, said Mitsuki. I think I remember Izuku telling me about that, said Pony. As the group continued to talk, they didn't notice a blonde-haired boy shuffling his way into Izuku's room. Closing the door as quietly as he could, the boy let out a breath that he was holding. You know, I could hear you getting out of your bed, right? Said Izuku with his eyes still shut. And I knew you weren't unconscious this whole time. You have probably been awake for at least an hour, said Bakugo, sitting in the chair next to Izuku's bed. About 45 minutes, give or take. But I like the sleep and everything hurts, said Izuku. I feel you on that. That black bastard really hit me hard. Hell, he even punched you a good distance and cracked your armor. And before you ask, yes, I saw the armor plates you grew break from the hit, said Bakugo. Yeah, they did break and the pain was a lot more intense after that. That's what probably forced me into the rage. Can't believe I killed that thing the way I did, said Izuku. I mean, in my professional opinion, that was a certified badass moment. I mean, you pried the thing's mouth open and breathed a basic beam of fire down the bastard's throat. If that's not badass, I don't know what is, said Bakugo. Yeah, it was kinda cool. But that thing was made to kill All Might, but who made it and why do they want to kill All Might so badly? Asked Izuku. Who knows, he has a lot of enemies and there are plenty who would probably try to kill him if they had the chance. But last time I checked, all the people who could get their asses handed to them by All Might said Bakugo. The two continued talking till the rest of the group walked into the room and they talked to each other for a little longer. Back at school, in the council room of the school, the staff of the school, including the principal. All right everyone, I know that today has been a rather interesting day. But we need to talk about what happened and how we will proceed in the future, said Nezu. I guess the first place to start is how did they get into the USJ and how did they know the timing of the classes? Asked Midnight. I believe they may have gotten them from someone on the inside, said Ectoplasm. Ectoplasm, are you insinuating we have some kind of traitor in our school? Asked Midnight. It's the most valid idea here. The only other option I can think of is that the teleporter used his ability to teleport into the school and grab the class schedule. But the alarm system would have accounted for all the intruders, and all the news reporters were counted and they matched the numbers from the alarm system, said Powerloader. I don't want to think of someone in our school turning to villainy, it seems to be the only possible answer to how they got the information. Now on to the next topic of how the students are handling the attack, said Nezu. Most of the students are handling the attack rather well. We haven't talked with the students that went to the hospital but I would think they are alright, said Hound Dog. They will be fine. They are my students and I know them well. The ones in the hospital right now are the two strongest students I have, and the girls that went with them have each other and Midoriya will always help others no matter what condition he is in, said a well-wrapped Aizawa. Aizawa, shouldn't you be in recovery with Vlad? Asked Midnight. Yes he should but his stubborn head refuses to stay in bed, so I wrapped him up the best I could so that he would at least not get an infection, said Recovery Girl right next to him. Well, it is good to see that you are up and walking. But speaking of Midoriya, we do need to talk about his actions that happened at the USJ, said Nezu, pulling up pictures that were taken by the cameras at the USJ after the systems came back online. Looking at the pictures, the staff at UA could see Midoriya in his snake form and in his Asura form fighting the Nomu. They could see him in his rage state killing the Nomu and roaring to the sky. This is Izuku Midoriya, the kid that took down a creature made to bring down All Might, said Snipe, looking at Izuku prying the Nomu's mouth open. He killed that thing, but from what I heard from some of the students, he was in some kinda rage, said Hound Dog. Yes, there was something about that in his file, but not to this extent. From the file it was in response to protect others. But this was a lot more extreme than any other cases. How do you all think we should handle this case? He did kill that Nomu creature, said Nezu. How would we even punish him? He was not fully in control of his actions, asked Midnight. But he still did it, said Snipe. I don't think we should punish him at all, said Aizawa, surprising everyone. Eraser, you of all people know the rules about killing a villain, said Snipe. Yes I do, and that is exactly why I say we shouldn't punish him. 1. He was fighting for his life and the life of all the other students and me and Vlad. 2. He was in a rage fighting that thing and he is one of if not the strongest student I have and was still being injured by the creature. 3. That thing is not a normal human, it had multiple quirks and it was physically strong enough to take All Might on without a quirk. 4th and finally, that thing was not something that could be stopped, it had a super regeneration quirk to the point that one of my other students liquefied its insides and in seconds was up and punched him across the USJ. It scared Izuku Midoriya, and I don't know too much about animals and dinosaurs, but if you have all those carnivores in your corner and something scares you, then it's definitely not human, said Aizawa, causing everyone to go silent. So what if a boy gets scared? A lot of people do, even ones with animal quirks. Gang Orca has even said he gets scared when in a room with All Might, and so does Hound Dog, said a new person entering the room. Ah, Eric, good to see you joining us. How was your trip to America, and how was Charles and his school? Said Nezu, turning to the vice principal of UA. Nezu, it is always good to see you. Charles sends his hellos and wishes us the best and that you could visit him someday. Now back to this kid I have heard so much about, said Eric. The meeting went on for a couple more hours discussing what the plan moving forward will be and what to do about the sports festival. Midoriya household. Making it back to their houses after being released from the hospital, Izuku had contemplated killing the Nomu and how he had done it. Not to mention how his other classmates might see him now. Getting the message from the school telling the hero course students that they have the next couple days off, Izuku didn't know what to do, but one night he was sitting in bed thinking when he heard something hit his window. Walking over to his window, Izuku opened it, feeling the cool night air on his face. Looking down to the ground and changing his vision to night vision, Izuku could see someone he wasn't expecting to see at this time of night. Standing there was Itsuka Kendo in a pair of long sweat pants and a hoodie, waving Izuku down. Knowing that his parents were asleep and that if he went out the front door it would wake them up. Backing away from the window, Izuku got a bad idea. Grabbing some clothes, he changed into a fly, making his way outside. Landing behind Itsuka, and changing back to normal without Itsuka knowing, he slowly creeped up behind her and at the last moment scared her, getting a very girly scream from her. "Don't do that," said Itsuka, smacking Izuku on the arm for scaring her. "Sorry, but that was funny. And I didn't know you had that girly scream," said Izuku, giggling. "Well, of course I do. I am still a girl, you know," said Itsuka, pouting. "Of course I know. Did you think I forgot?" asked Izuku. "No, ah, never mind. Come on, let's go, they're waiting," said Itsuka, running off into the woods towards the town. "Wait there, who?" asked Izuku to the wind as he started chasing after Itsuka. As the two teens ran through the woods, with Izuku hot on Itsuka's heels, something felt right for Izuku, like the woods and nature was where he was meant to be. Seeing that he was getting distracted and Itsuka was making distance, Izuku had another idea. Picking up speed, Izuku started to grow bigger as fur started to cover him, and his limbs changed. Lunging forward, Izuku finished changing into a massive wolf. Passing Itsuka and stopping right in front of her, Izuku could see the look of amazement in the girl's eyes. Kneeling to the ground and leaning his back towards the girl, Izuku was waiting for Itsuka to get on his back. When Itsuka saw Izuku pass her as a wolf, she was amazed, and when she saw him wanting her to get on his back, she had a little blush on her face. Making it to Izuku in his wolf form, Itsuka hopped onto his back, getting a good hold on some of the very comfortable and soft fur, as Izuku stood turning his head to Itsuka. "Where to?" asked Izuku in a deep, raspy voice. "To my dojo," said Itsuka, pointing in the general direction. Turning to the pointed location, Izuku readied himself before taking off at full speed to the dojo, running through the moonlit woods. Being a little scared at the fast exhilaration, Itsuka was clinging to Izuku like he was the only thing that would stop her from flying away. But after a short time, Itsuka slowly looked up, feeling the air rushing past her, and then she could see the view of the town lit up by all the lights through the trees. After making it to the dojo, Itsuka got off Izuku, who changed back to normal. The two teens walked into the dojo, seeing that the only area that had light on was where he would train with Tiamat, but instead of seeing his sensei there, it was Pony and Kami. "So when you said they were waiting, you meant them?" asked Izuku, getting a confirming yes from Itsuka. "So what is going on?" asked Izuku to the girls. "Well, after the events at the USJ, and a conversation we had earlier, we would like to tell you something," said Itsuka. "Yeah, and we wanted to tell you before the USJ, but the timing wasn't right," said Pony. "And this thing you want to tell me is?" asked Izuku. Pony was about to answer but was cut off by Kami. "Like Pony here, both me and Itsuka like you, and want to be your girlfriends as well," said Kami with a lot more confidence than the other two girls. Izuku, hearing this, did what most people would do when they hear this. His brain shut down and did a hard reset. Standing completely still and blank-faced, Izuku didn't know what to think or do. The girls were a little concerned to see Izuku frozen and blank-faced. "Izuku, are you okay?" asked Pony. Snapping back to reality, Izuku thought about it for a second or two before answering. "So you all have feelings towards me, and you have all talked about this and agreed you would share me?" asked Izuku. "Yes," said all three girls in unison. With a deep sigh, Izuku started smiling and laughing. "Well, this makes things a lot easier," said Izuku. "Wait, what do you mean?" asked Itsuka. "Oh, that's right, I didn't tell you all this. But I learned that like other animals in the world, I have a mating season where I have a heightened sense to reproduce and to be affectionate. The weird part about it is that it doesn't target everyone around me, but it targets certain people, and all three of you have been targeted by it." Given that some animals have multiple mates and I have a massive amount of different instances in me, makes the mating season weird, and I feared that one day I might get very affectionate with someone other than my girlfriend and it would be like cheating. But now that this has popped up, it makes my life so much easier," said Izuku, sitting on the ground catching his breath from laughing. "So is that a yes or no to us dating you with Pony?" asked Kami. "Of course it's a yes. As long as Pony is okay with it and you both are okay with it, then I am fine with it," said Izuku, seeing blushes appear on the girls' faces. Hearing the words of their now boyfriend made Kami and Itsuka very happy and caused big smiles to appear on their faces. Before he knew it, Izuku was tackled by Kami, who started to vigorously kiss him, with Itsuka blushing even more from the show of affection and Pony getting a little jealous, trying to pull the girl off Izuku. "Calm down, Kami," said Pony. After getting Kami off, Izuku sat up with his hair a little more frizzled than normal, before he felt a hand on his cheek, turning his head to see Itsuka next to him. A lot calmer and gentler than Kami, Itsuka kissed Izuku, getting a weird but nice feeling from the kiss. After the whole embarrassment and having fun was done, the four teens had some fun sparring and seeing how well Izuku and Itsuka can fight, with Izuku winning the fights with Itsuka. Once that was done, the teens made their way back home, where Izuku started thinking about his quirk more after the conversation with the girls. Couple days later, training field away from Izuku's house. In an open field near the Midoriya household were two boys training. Izuku and Katsuki were fighting each other with their quirks. Katsuki using his explosions to try and hit Izuku, who was tanking the blasts with pangolin plates and increased strength. With craters all around and scorch marks everywhere, the two boys were tired and done training. "It's been a while since we trained like this," said Izuku, changing back to normal. "You're not wrong. I think the last time I beat your ass was before school started," said Katsuki. "Beat my ass? I think you mean struggling to even leave a scratch on me is what you mean," said Izuku. Yeah, whatever you say. I know that if I tried I could beat you," said Katsuki with a smug look on his face. "Oh really, you think you can beat me if I go all out?" said Izuku with his teeth growing and a scary look in his eyes. "Okay, I said if I go all out, not you. I'm not crazy enough to think I can beat you at 100%, said Katsuki. "That's what I thought. You can't beat the king," said Izuku with a smirk on his face. "Speaking of 100%, we have never really tested what you really can do, have we?" asked Katsuki. "I mean, we have tried to, but it's hard to measure what I am capable of." "I mean, how do you measure strength that is multiplied by different creatures? How do you measure the changes in my body when I have multiple manifestations?" asked Izuku. "I mean, now that we are at UA, we can use their equipment, and don't we have a classmate that can make almost anything? Spiky Ponytail can make stuff for you, right?" asked Katsuki. "Okay, one, you need to get better at learning people's names, and two, I can't just walk up to her and say, 'How can you make me stuff to test my limits and see just how powerful I am?'" said Izuku. "I mean, I would just say, 'Ha, make me test shit,'" said Katsuki. "You're impossible," said Izuku, checking his phone, seeing a couple messages from his new girlfriends, getting a happy smile on his face. But there was a message he wasn't expecting. It was a message from Momo. Opening the message, Izuku saw that she and the representatives from Class 1B wanted to meet up and talk about something. Putting his phone away, Izuku collected his stuff and started making his way back home with Katsuki to clean himself before seeing his classmates. Meeting with representatives. Meeting at a dinner not too far from UA was Izuku, Momo, Setsuna, and Rin. Izuku was the last to arrive and noticed that as soon as Setsuna saw him, Rin had to hold the girl down like she was about to tackle him. "Sorry I am late, I was training and had to clean up," said Izuku, sitting down next to Momo and across from the other two representatives. "Oh, that's all right, we haven't been here long. How are you feeling? I hope there was no lasting damage from the J attack," said Momo. "I am doing fine. All of my wounds have healed up and I am back at perfect health. Thank you for asking," said Izuku with a smile on his face while sitting down next to Momo. Looking at the other two students, Izuku could see that Rin was embarrassed by his classmate, who was basically vibrating with a childish look on her face. Is she okay? Asked Izuku pointing at Setsuna. She's fine, she is just excited, ever since she saw your quirk and after hearing about it from Yaoyorozu, said Rin. Oh really? What makes? Izuku was interrupted by Setsuna. Can you change into a dinosaur? Asked a yelling Setsuna. Tokage is your inside voice please, said Rin unplugging his ears. Sorry, I'm just so excited because I saw you change into Titanoboa and I love dinosaurs and prehistoric creatures, said Setsuna at a lower volume. It's okay, and yes I can change into any creature that has ever existed on Earth, said Izuku. Can I see? I always wanted to see a dinosaur in real life, said Setsuna, bouncing in her seat. I can show you one day, maybe if we train together I might use one against you, said Izuku getting a smile from the other green-haired girl. Speaking of training, we actually had an idea about it and what we can do. Seeing that not all of us have had proper training, what do you think about a double-class training day? Asked Rin. I think it is a good idea. We can help each other in areas where we might not be good in. When do you guys think a good day for this would be? If I am correct we have a couple days left before going back to classes, said Izuku. Yes, we have about 4 days left till classes start. I think this Friday should be a good day to train for everyone, said Momo checking her schedule to find a good day. Alright, I can send the message out to my class and get them on board. Can you guys send the message to your class? Said Rin. Just did, said Izuku sending the message to everyone. Great, now that we have finished, let's eat, said Setsuna, getting an equal response from the other members at the table. 2 days later UA Field Gamma. As the students arrived some of them were confused to know that they are allowed on campus when not on a school day. Hey Izu, how did you get permission to use the school's training areas? Asked Kami using a new nickname she made. I asked Mr. Aizawa if we could use it to train and he was a little on the edge of letting us use it or not but changed his mind when I gave him a new sleeping bag, said Izuku. You bribed the teacher? Asked Ida, chopping the air pointing at Izuku. No, it was just a gift that I wanted to give him, and I just happened to give it to him at that moment, said Izuku, with a sly grin. Walking up to the other class reps, Izuku turned and addressed the 2 classes. Alright everyone, we are here to train with each other and to get help on things we might be struggling with. If you need specific help with something please feel free to ask, said Izuku with the students pairing up and practicing with each other. As the 2 classes practiced with each other Izuku heard some footsteps coming towards him. Turning around Izuku saw Itsuka, Pony, and Setsuna walk up to him, but he wasn't expecting to see Kami pushing Momo over to him. Is there something I can help you ladies with? And Kami, why are you pushing Momo? Asked Izuku. Well, Itsuka was telling us about how you guys would spar with each other at your dojo and we were hoping that you would train with us, said Pony. And I am having Momo here train with you because it would be interesting to see the 2 multi-purpose hero students fight each other, said Kami. I would gladly train with you guys but I will only spar with Momo if she would like, said Izuku. Yeah, time to get strong, said Pony, jumping in happiness. Moving to an unoccupied area, Izuku took a little distance from the others and took his shoes off and his shirt, getting some blushes from the girls. Midoriya, why are you taking your shirt off? Asked Momo. Well, it is easier to move around, and if I destroy any more shirts and shoes Mom is going to kill me. And please call me Izuku. Now let's get started. Itsuka, same rules as normal only difference full quirk usage, said Izuku getting into a fighting stance. Hearing this, Itsuka got into her own fighting stance and readied herself for the spar, but unlike in the normal spar Izuku started to use his quirk more than usual. Growing armor and more arms, Izuku went into his Asura form ready to fight. This was an interesting sight to Itsuka, who has been on the receiving end of Izuku's fighting stance, but she had never been in front of Izuku when he used this form. So you're fighting me using your forms now? Asked Itsuka. Time to push you further than normal, said Izuku, not moving from his stance and never breaking eye contact. Realizing that there wouldn't be a bell telling her to start, Itsuka charged forward to attack Izuku, throwing a punch at him, enlarging her hands to add impact onto the strike, but her hand was stopped dead in its track as Izuku used 2 arms to stop the enlarged hand, Is that all you got? Asked Izuku, pulling back two of his other arms and punching Itsuka's hand, causing her to be pushed back a couple yards. Seeing Itsuka holding her hand that he punched, Izuku made his way to attack Itsuka but was stopped when a sharp horn hit his side followed by a dozen more. You think we are going to let Itsuka have all the fun? Said Pony, launching more horns at Izuku, who was punching the horn out of the air before they hit him. But after hitting the horns for a second and taking a second to rethink what Pony said, a pair of arms wrapped around his neck holding two of his arms to his head unable to move and the other four being held to his body by Kami using her legs to wrap around his torso. Sorry Izu, but not every fight will be fair, said Kami seductively in Izuku's ear. While Izuku was enjoying the feeling of Kami pressing against his back, he wasn't enjoying the feeling of Pony's horns hitting his armored body. The horns didn't do a lot of damage to his plates. The impact force still hurts and he could see Itsuka making her way to him and the only thought he had of what she might do was to hold him down till he gave out. Knowing that his form wouldn't win him the fight, Izuku changed into a snake and slithered out of Kami's arms and avoided Pony's horns. Changing back to normal when he was a safe distance from the girls, Izuku started thinking of what he could do. But he was again interrupted by the sound of a gunshot and the pain of something hitting him. Looking down to his leg, he saw a dart sticking out of the side of his leg. Pulling it out, he could feel himself losing strength. Looking over, he saw Momo holding a dart gun pointed at him and Setsuna running towards him. Sorry Midoriya, but that tranquilizer dart has enough narcotics in it to bring down a horse, said Momo, loading another dart into her dart gun. A horse you say? Then I guess I just need to be bigger, said Izuku with a smirk on his face. Hearing what he said, Momo aimed her gun at him and the other girls making their way to him to try and stop him from changing. Ha Setsuna, you ever watched Jurassic Park? Asked Izuku, looking at Setsuna, who had a look of fear on her face. And in the blink of an eye, in the place where Izuku was standing, was a massive T-Rex, catching the attention of all the other students when Izuku roared once he changed. Holy shit, that's a T-Rex. Did Midoriya just change into a T-Rex? Asked Kirishima, not paying attention to Bakugo, who was about to hit him but stopped when he saw that he wasn't paying attention. I think he did, and that is a lot more scary seeing it in real life than seeing it on TV, said Kaminari, getting the same responses from the other students. Even the students from 1B were shocked at the sight except for one student. It's a T-Rex. Yes, yelled Setsuna with stars in her eye as she ran to see it up close. Seeing the green-haired girl running to him, Izuku turned to Setsuna and was ready to try and fight but dropped his guard when he saw she didn't want to fight. Bringing his head down closer to the ground, Izuku was surprised when Setsuna hugged his snout the best she could, but the size difference was a little too much for it to do anything. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I have wanted to see a real dinosaur for so long, yelled Setsuna, still hugging the massive reptile. You're welcome, said Izuku in a deep voice, shocking the other students. You can changing into dinosaurs rather easily, it seems, said Melissa, walking over to the group. Yes, I can, said Izuku, looking towards Melissa with Setsuna trying to climb onto Izuku's head. Ha Setsuna, I don't think climbing on Midoriya is a good idea, said Rin. But I want a ride, said Setsuna with a sad tone. Then I have a better idea then, said Izuku, leaning his head down as Setsuna slid off before he changed again. Stepping back from the others, Izuku changed again, but this time into a little smaller of a creature, and instead of a dinosaur, he changed to a different prehistoric creature. When he was done, he resembled a massive vulture. Argentavis, said Setsuna, making her way to Izuku. It's a big bird, said Ochako, getting a sideways look from Izuku. It's a prehistoric bird that had one of the largest wingspans of any feathered bird, said Izuku, looking at the class and seeing Setsuna slowly walking up to him. And yes, Setsuna, you can hop on my back, said Izuku, lowering his body for the girl to hop on his back. Yeah, thank you, said Setsuna, hopping on Izuku's back, feeling the soft feathers and the strong muscles of the bird's wings. All right, hold on, said Izuku, spreading his wings out, shocking some people with their size. Wait, what? Said some of the people as Izuku took off into the sky with Setsuna holding for dear life on Izuku's back. Leveling out, Izuku slowed down and set himself to a cruising speed. "Ha Setsuna, you can open your eyes now," said Izuku. Opening her eyes, Setsuna could see the city and all the different buildings around from Izuku's back. "Wow, this is so cool," said Setsuna with amazement on her face. "Do you like the view?" asked Izuku. Getting a big hug from the girl on his back, Izuku took that as a yes. After a couple of minutes of flying, Izuku was ready to head back to the ground and Setsuna was starting to get cold. So he told her to hold on, because the next moment Izuku went into a dive straight to the ground, increasing speed the closer he got. Pulling up at the last moment and opening his wings, Izuku went straight past the rest of the class before landing and changing back. "Now that was fun," said Setsuna, still having stars in her eyes and her hair messed up from the high speeds. Walking back to the rest of the two classes, Izuku and Setsuna started talking to the other students before one student started pushing his way towards Izuku. "Ha, you think you are so great being the president of your class and having a great quirk," said Monoma walking towards Izuku. "Monoma, knock it off," said Rin starting to walk over to Monoma. "But I will show you that my class and my quirk is better than yours," said Monoma running towards Izuku with Rin running after him. But he didn't make it to him in time with Monoma grabbing Izuku's arm and immediately dropping to the ground holding his head and screaming. Hey, you okay? What did you do? Hey, stay with me," said Izuku trying to help the boy in front of him. With others coming to help him as well and some students having terrified looks on their faces. "Hey Monoma, what happened? Are you okay?" asked Rin to the downed student. "Hey, is it his quirk or something?" "What is his quirk?" asked Izuku. "It's copy. He can copy the quirk of almost anyone he touches," said Rin. "Wait, he can copy quirks. He copied my quirk," said Izuku with shock and a little fear in his voice. "Yeah, I think he did. But I haven't seen this reaction. He normally copies everything, even the natural immunities the original has," said Rin. Izuku looked at the boy on the ground and saw him starting to change. "Everyone get away," yelled Izuku, growing tentacles and pulling everyone away from Monoma as he changed into a massive dinosaur. "Is that a Giganotosaurus?" asked Setsuna. "Yeah, it is. It looks like he wasn't ready for the instincts of all the animals in the animal kingdom and he is on a rampage," said Izuku. "What do we do?" asked Rin looking at Monoma and readying himself to protect himself. "We either have to hold him at bay till his timer runs out if he has one, or we have to exhaust his stamina till he changes." Izuku was cut off by a tail slamming into him and sending him into a building. Everyone looked up and saw Monoma charging towards them trying to eat them, with everyone running away from him. "Hey dumbass. Knock that shit off," said Bakugo blasting towards Monoma and hitting him with multiple explosions, followed by Kirishima and Tetsu who helped the others get away from the raging student. Getting past Bakugo, Monoma ran towards the students but was stopped by a super strong punch from Melissa causing Monoma to fall onto his side. "Quickly, we need to hold him down," said Melissa, getting Shiozaki to send her vines to hold the out-of-control student down. Momo also made heavy-duty chains and had Kirishima and Tetsu wrap them around Monoma's legs and run in opposite directions with other students coming to help pull the chains and hold the rampaging student down. Todoroki came in and covered Monoma in ice, but this caused frost to appear on the chains and some students were losing their grip. Monoma's rage-filled state felt the loosening of the chains and pulled on the chains, pulling some students and causing some to lose their grips on the chains, breaking out of the ice and tearing Shiozaki's vines apart. Monoma got up from the ground and smelled the air, smelling Izuku's smell, and in his rage state took it as the scent of a predator and he wanted to get rid of it. But before he could start walking towards where Izuku was hit too, a horn hit his face. Turning toward the source, he saw Pony standing there and he could smell Izuku's scent on her, and his instincts took it as she was the predator, so he turned and made his way to Pony, who ran to one of the buildings trying to get away from Monoma. Making it in a building, Pony got stuck and Monoma charged the building trying to get in and eat Pony, causing the girl to scream. With Izuku, who was trying to get out of the building and help the others. He had an idea that could help him beat the enraged Monoma, but it would hurt and he didn't know if it would work. But before he could think any more, he heard something that sent a shiver down his spine. Pony's scream. Looking up and seeing the Giganotosaurus Monoma trying to get into a building, Izuku saw red, with his eyes literally turning red and turning reptilian. "Pony!" yelled Itsuka, trying to get others to help. Bakugo and Melissa were about to charge back in but felt a rumbling coming. Looking to where Izuku was sent, they saw a massive white dinosaur charging towards them, and before they could tell other to watch out, the creature ran right past them and opened its mouth a lot wider than should be possible, and biting down of Monoma's neck, pushing him away from the building that had Pony, and into another building before letting go and backing up and going into defensive posture and roaring at Monoma. Getting Pony out of the building, Setsuna saw the creature that Izuku turned into and was shocked. Did, said Setsuna. "Did that dumbass just turn into the Indominus Rex from Jurassic World?" said Bakugo in shock as well. As Monoma got up from the building's debris, he turned towards Izuku and roared a massive roar, with Izuku roaring back with no fear in his eyes before charging Monoma and biting his neck and clawing his sides as Monoma bit Izuku's back but didn't cause a lot of damage, but Izuku did. Especially when he pulled Monoma's head down and to the side and let go so he could claw at his legs, causing a massive injury on the raging student and causing him to limp a little. As Monoma tried charging Izuku the best he could, Izuku moved to the side and bit down on Monoma's neck and pulled him to the ground with the help of his arms. As Monoma hit the ground, he tried getting up, but he was getting tired from the fighting and the injuries. As he was starting to rise up, a large foot pushed him back down and two arms held his head down as Izuku looked down on him till Monoma gave up. Seeing that his opponent had given up, he moved his arms off Monoma and roared to the sky in victory. Walking away from Monoma, Izuku made his way towards the rest of the class. Seeing Izuku with his back turned, Monoma used the last of his time and energy to charge Izuku, who turned around ready to keep fighting but didn't have to when a ton of metal beams hit Monoma and wrapping around him and holding him down. And here I thought the first years would have a little more control on problems, especially after the USJ attack, said a voice behind the class. Turning to the voice, the students saw a man in a red metal costume with a red cape and a Spartan-like helmet floating in the air with his hand held out towards Monoma. "Wait, who is that?" asked some of the students, but 3 of the students knew who this person was, but only one knew why he was here. Changing back to normal, Izuku had some cuts and bruises and a large laceration on his back, but he was healing it fast. "That's the magnetizing hero Magneto," said Bakugo. "He's a hero from the United States and is well known for working at the Xavier School for Gifted Children in the US, one of the best hero schools in the USA." "But why is he here?" said Melissa. "That's easy, he is the vice principal of UA. He transferred here a couple years ago when he and Professor X came and helped All Might defeat the villain Apocalypse," said Izuku, getting a shocked reaction from Melissa and Bakugo. "You're not wrong. I did transfer here when Nezu offered the position to me after that battle. He said I would be helping the future heroes greatly and to help those who have problems controlling their quirks. But I wasn't expecting to come back from my trip home to America to find that my students were attacked at the USJ and that another student had gone on a rampage because he couldn't handle his quirk, or I should say the quirk of someone else," said Eric, landing next to the students with Principal Nezu, Recovery Girl, and Mr. Aizawa all right behind him. "Are you all okay? Does anyone need immediate medical attention?" asked Recovery Girl. "Midoriya, I thought you said there wouldn't be any problems and that you would take responsibility for the others using their quirks, and this happens," said Mr. Aizawa, wanting to use his quirk on Izuku to push the point, but saw that he was healing himself and didn't want to stop that. "Mr. Aizawa, I am," Izuku was interrupted by Rin. "It's my fault, sir. I knew Monoma had a problem with the other class and that he would try to use his quirk, but I didn't stop him from going out of line. As the class vice president, it's my fault, not Midoriya here," said Rin, bowing. "It doesn't matter, he still had final say on," Aizawa was cut off. "Ha, Eraser, you can chew your students out later, but first can you use your quirk on the student I am holding done, please?" asked Eric, pointing towards Monoma, who was still trying to get out of the metal restraints. "We will have words later. Both of you," said Aizawa, looking at both boys before walking over to help Eric. "I will say, I have heard about your quirk and seen a video of it, but seeing it in person is an interesting sight," said Nezu, walking up to the 2 boys. "Principal Nezu, sorry again for causing trouble," said Izuku, bowing. "It's all right. You don't have to apologize for not knowing what a quirk from someone not in your class would do and how it would react, said Nezu. The two boys looked at each other, realizing that they never actually told each other or their classes about the other class's quirks. Facepalming at the lack of thought, the two boys thanked the principal and made their way back to their classmates, where Izuku was properly tackled by Pony, who looked like she was on the verge of crying. After looking at the other students, Principal Nezu made his way over to Eric and Aizawa, who were helping Monoma up after Aizawa used his quirk on him. Making it to Monoma, Nezu saw that the boy was unconscious and had some pretty bad wounds on his body, but nothing Recovery Girl couldn't fix. As Nezu was looking at the destruction caused by the two students, he heard some footsteps coming towards him. Turning around, he saw that it was Eric. "Eric, what is it?" asked Nezu. "I don't know if you noticed or not, but for a student's quirk to do this to another student, something about it isn't right. And I thought that he could only turn into creatures that actually existed. That Rex-like creature was from a movie. It's not what his quirk is capable of," said Eric. "I did, but I unfortunately have very little info on his quirk other than what is written in his file. But with the amount of damage an untrained user could do, I can only imagine what young Midoriya is capable of," said Nezu, turning to see Izuku talking with the other students. After getting talked to by the teachers and principals, the students continued training with the teacher's supervision, and Izuku was brought to the principal's office to talk with him and the vice principal. "You wanted to talk to me, sir?" asked Izuku. "Yes, me and Eric here would like to get a little more information about your quirk and the unique aspects of it," said Nezu with Eric next to him. "Absolutely. What would you like to know first, sir?" asked Izuku. "If you don't mind, can you tell me the details of it from the start? I read over it a little once I got back, but I would like to hear it from the source," said Eric. "Absolutely. Well, to start, my quirk is a mutation and transformation quirk. The mutation is from me being stronger and more durable than others, and I heal faster. The transformation part is the main part of my quirk. It gives me the ability to transform into any creature that has or is walking this world. I can fully transform into the creature or transform individual parts of my body to different creatures. I have gotten pretty good at the individual changes to have 3 at a time with no backlash, but more cause me to get tired and it does hurt a little. I can change major parts of my body from hands and feet and even grow new parts, and I can change minor parts like organs and internal works of my body, but those do take a little bit of practice to get good at doing," said Izuku. "Thank you for telling me about your quirk. But I do have a question. You said you can transform into anything that has or is walking this planet, correct?" asked Eric. "Yes, sir," said Izuku. "Then how did you transform into that Rex-like creature? I was told it was a creature from a movie and it had a lot of different DNA in it." "More than you can change?" asked Eric. "I don't know, sir. I just remember seeing Monoma attacking the other students and about to eat Pony, and I just felt a rage come over me. And at that moment the only creature in my head was the Indominus Rex after I talked to Setsuna about Jurassic World. I will say after the battle and I changed back, I was in a lot of pain like I do when I have too many changes, but to a much higher degree," said Izuku. "Understood. Thank you for the information. Please rejoin your class and thank you for your time," said Eric. "You're welcome, sir," said Izuku, bowing and walking away to his class. As their time off was coming to an end, all the students of the hero course could be seen making their way to UA High to start their next lesson to become a hero. As one green-haired student made his way to his classroom, he could hear some of the other students around him talking about the U.S.J. attack and about the hero class training incident. "I wonder how the other students learned about the training incident. I thought that no one would talk about it to the other students," thought Izuku made it to his classroom. As Izuku opened the door, he could see everyone in the room talking with each other, talking about many different things. Before Izuku could take another step into the room, he was hugged from behind, making him feel warm and happy at the contact. As Izuku smelled the air, he gained a wide smile on his face, knowing the person that was hugging him. "Good morning, Pony. How are you doing today?" asked Izuku, feeling Pony let go of the hug and turned around to see the happy horse-like girl. "I am doing a lot better now that I get to talk with you," said Pony with a brilliant smile on her face. As the two teens were talking to each other, Izuku couldn't help but feel like someone was watching him. Before Izuku could look around and find the person looking at him, he heard his brother call his name. "Ha, Deku, stop flirting with your girlfriend in front of everyone," said Bakugo, with a grin on his face, hoping to embarrass his brother but was sorely mistaken. "Why, what are you jealous that I have a girlfriend and you don't?" asked Izuku to Bakugo, who just looked away, saying something about a dumb green rabbit. After getting a little chuckle from his brother's reaction, Izuku made his way to his seat ready to start his day, but then felt the sense of someone watching him again. Looking around, Izuku saw some people talking to others, some just getting to class, and others just sitting at the desk getting ready for the day. That was until he felt a poke on his back. Turning around, Izuku was face to face with one of his female classmates. "What can I do for you, Melissa?" asked Izuku, looking at the blonde-haired girl. "Would it be possible for you to help me train my quirk? I know you can handle my strength and can deal it back. I would ask others, but you're the only person who can do both," asked Melissa. "Oh, absolutely, it would be my pleasure to help you," said Izuku. Walking into class and having everyone get to their seats was Mr. Aizawa, who was fully healed from the U.S.J. "Alright everyone, before we start class 1 need to tell you all something," said Aizawa, causing everyone in the class to be afraid that someone was going to get expelled. "You all have to be ready for the sports festival," said Aizawa, causing everyone to go silent. That was until they all started talking loudly about how it was going to be awesome, and how they needed to get ready. Using his quirk, Mr. Aizawa made the whole class go silent. "Good, now given that the festival is coming up, you all will most likely want to train. So Nezu has authorized you all to use the UA facilities to train and work out whenever you want," said Aizawa, hearing the mutters of some of the students. After explaining about the festival and how things would change for the event, the classes went back to normal. The students were doing their best to pay attention to their teachers, but most of them were too occupied with thinking about the sports festival. Once the final bell rang and the students were released, there were multiple things that happened. The UA gyms and training areas were flooded by hero course students wanting to train and improve their quirks. Some of the local gyms around UA also got a massive spike in their members from some of the other course students at UA wanting to train. But the most exciting thing that happened was that one green-haired student got to help one of his classmates and get to learn about another quirk. As the two students went to try and find an area to train, they both realized that they would have to find a different place to train than the other students. After about 5 minutes of not being able to find an open training area, the two students found themselves using the forest outside UA. "So how do you want to do this?" asked Izuku, about to turn around when his instincts yelled at him to duck. As Izuku hit the ground and rolled, a massive gust of air went over him. Jumping to his feet and growing pangolin plates as armor, Izuku looked at Melissa, who had her arm stretched out in a punch. "Sorry, but one of my teachers taught me to always be ready for an attack," said Melissa, pulling her other arm back ready to send another punch. "Hey, what do you know?" said Izuku, disappearing with a trail of dust following him as he appeared behind Melissa with a sharp grin on his face. "My teacher said the same thing," finished Izuku as a massive reptilian tail growing from Izuku's tailbone before being slammed into Melissa's side, sending her sliding. As Melissa stopped her slide, she turned to Izuku, getting in a fighting stance. Still holding his grin, Izuku put his tail away and grew an extra pair of arms with pistol shrimp claws growing on all of his arms. "Well, now that we have started, time to get to some learning. Step 1, don't get hit," said Izuku as one of his claws closed at a ridiculous speed, causing a ball of heated plasma to be launched at Melissa, who dodged the attack. "How can you shoot energy blasts? No animal on Earth can do that," said Melissa. "It's not an energy blast. It's a superheated ball of plasma created from a rapid pressure increase from the speed of my claws. The ball of plasma is made from the massive pressure change which causes heat to be made and focused in a small point of release which sends it out at high speeds. But that's enough talking, more dodging," said Izuku as he continued to fire plasma blasts at Melissa, who continued to dodge the plasma blasts, punching some of the ones she couldn't dodge. But punching basically what amounted to super hot fireballs was not the best idea, even if she has enhanced durability. "Ow, ow, Ow, hot, 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 said Melissa, shaking her hands with some smoke coming off her hands. You okay? Asked Izuku, changing back to normal. Yeah, I will be fine. Come on, let's continue, said Melissa, getting back into a stance, but Izuku could see that her hands were burnt, about ready to blister. We can take a second to rest and to help your hands, said Izuku. No, I can keep going. I have to, said Melissa, whispering the last part to herself. But Izuku, with his increased hearing, heard her. Why is she pushing so hard? Thought Izuku, decided to ask her after the fight. Alright, but I am not going to fight fair, said Izuku, growing pangolin plates and strengthening his muscles to that of the bullet ant. Fair? There are no fair fights in our line of work, said Melissa, grinning. Hearing what Melissa said, Izuku also gained a grin and charged at the girl, with Melissa doing the same. As the two impacted with each other, they both grabbed the other's hands, trying to push the other backwards, but came to a deadlock. As the two pushed, Izuku could feel the force from Melissa increasing, causing him to start sliding. Not wanting to lose, Izuku changed his strength from the bullet ant to the Hercules beetle, stopping him from sliding and starting to push Melissa back. After pushing Melissa back a couple feet, Izuku could see the yellow lightning around Melissa increase and again could feel her strength increasing, but instead of changing strength again, Izuku grew his reptile tail and wrapped it around her leg and threw her into a tree that snapped in half on impact. Shit, forgot to lower the strength in my tail on that one, thought Izuku, wincing at the sight. Before Izuku could ask if his classmate was okay, a blonde blur came flying at him and slammed a punch into his stomach, causing him to be sent flying into his own tree, but not snapping it in half. Okay, that hurt. But my plates are still intact. Guess they got stronger after the U.S.J. attack, thought Izuku, looking back up at Melissa, seeing her hair a little disheveled, but with a lot more lightning dancing off her. But the detail that caught Izuku's attention was her hand shaking and looked to have small cuts on it. Did she push herself too much? Thought Izuku. Hey, you're Han. Izuku was interrupted by another punch hitting him in the chest from Melissa, who continued to send punch after punch at Izuku. Hey, Melissa, calm down, said Izuku, getting no response from the girl other than more punches and kicks. As Izuku ducked under one of Melissa's kicks, he became surprised as the girl's leg went straight through the tree next to him, causing it to fall. Said Melissa under her breath. Izuku looked at the girl and heard something from her. Better, said Melissa again. Melissa, asked Izuku, moving away from Melissa, who just stood there talking to herself. Listening a little closer, Izuku could hear what she said. I must be better, said Melissa. Hey, Melissa, are you okay? Asked Izuku, only to have Melissa look up at him quickly and yell. I have to get better. As the girl yelled this, she flashed forward, throwing a punch that distorted the air around her fist at Izuku. As Izuku dodged the punch, a massive gust of air sent him flying away along with everything else around them, but Izuku also noticed that Melissa's arms started to bleed and turn red. As Izuku landed, he felt a massive force impact on his stomach, sending him deeper into the ground. Looking up, Izuku learned that Melissa had jumped and landed feet first on his stomach before starting to punch him repeatedly into the ground like the Nomu did in the U.S.J. Not this again. Sorry, Melissa, but this is for your own good, thought Izuku, changing one of his legs to a desert locust and kicking Melissa in the chest as hard as he could, sending her crashing through tree branches and impacting into a tree trunk. As Melissa fell from the tree and landed on the ground, she went to get up but felt two string-like things attached to her arms and then attached to trees around her, causing her arms to be pulled across her chest. Looking, she saw it was webbing. She was going to pull the webs off when more webs hit her and attached to trees, limiting her moves. This continued until Melissa had webs attached to almost her entire body and in a cocoon-like trap that Izuku made when he climbed towards her and released a massive amount of webbing out like a spider wrapping up their prey. After watching Melissa struggle for about 3 minutes, Izuku finally saw Melissa calming down until she passed out. Cutting her down, and removing the webbing from around her body, Izuku was ready to start dressing her arms from the bleeding, but once he saw her arms he became confused. They're healed, but how? I saw them turning red and bleeding, thought Izuku. After a couple of minutes Melissa woke up, feeling a pain in her arms and looking at them before looking around. As she looked around she saw that there were craters and trees blown away all around her. Oh no did, said Melissa looking at the destruction. Wait, Izuku, where are you? Yelled Melissa, looking around quickly to see if she could see him. I'm okay, said Izuku, who was laying on a branch in one of the trees that survived the duel. After seeing that her classmate was okay, the blonde-haired girl just dropped her head. I'm sorry, said Melissa. It's okay, I was able to restrain you, till you calmed down, said Izuku jumping from the branch landing next to Melissa. Thank you, but I should have just trained on my own, instead of putting you in danger, said Melissa with sadness in her voice. No, from what I got you are afraid of your quirk, and you want to be better, said Izuku getting Melissa's attention. You are afraid that if you put too much power in your attack you will hurt someone, but if you don't put enough then you will lose and someone else will get hurt. I also take it that there was someone you wanted to prove yourself to, that you can handle your power, said Izuku causing Melissa to gape at him. How did you? Asked Melissa before Izuku cut her off. No, finished Izuku, I have also been afraid of my quirk at one point. But I learned to accept my quirk and to live with the fear. Because that fear reminds me of how I can be better, said Izuku to Melissa, who had not looked away from Izuku since he started talking. Looking at Melissa, Izuku saw the girl looking at him in awe, before looking away swearing that he saw some red on her face. Thank you for that, I will do my best to accept my quirk, and to be better so that the person I want to see me, can see how far I have gotten, said Melissa standing up and looking at Izuku. Glad to hear it, and I will be here to help you, said Izuku with a smile. Wait, you still want to help me even after all of this? Asked Melissa. Of course, you think this is all it will take to get me to stop helping you? Asked Izuku rhetorically. Well, I thought that you wouldn't want to, given that I went a little crazy, said Melissa. Nope, but speaking of that, was that part of your quirk or something else? Actually, what is your quirk? I never got to ask you that. Asked Izuku. Oh, well, yes. It is. My quirk is called adrenaline. It gives me super strength, durability, speed, and an upped healing rate. The longer I am in a fight and the more damage I take causes me to get stronger, but it also causes me to get more angry, and if I get too much adrenaline then I go into a rage like I did here, said Melissa with a little bit of sweat on her forehead. That's so cool. You can make yourself so strong and fast just by fighting, and doing stuff. Wait, can you control the amount of adrenaline in your system? Can you increase the normal amount of adrenaline in your body? What is your limit? What's that lightning that comes off your body? Is it extra energy or something? Asked Izuku starting to mutter. He would have continued but was brought out of his muttering spree by the sound of a girl laughing. Looking over, Izuku could see Melissa laughing, with her arms holding her stomach from the amount of laughter she was releasing. Seeing the girl go from worried and sad to happy and laughing made Izuku happy. As Melissa stopped laughing, wiping the tears from her eyes before putting her glasses back on, she looked to Izuku. Thank you Izuku, said Melissa bowing to Izuku. You're welcome, replied Izuku. Now shall we continue? Asked Melissa. Absolutely, but let's not have you go into a rage, said Izuku joking, with Melissa agreeing. Time skip couple days later. After a couple of days all of the heroic course students were hard at work training themselves and their quirks, with most of them training at UA. At one of the training gyms was a pair of students walking into the training room. Walking into the gym was Izuku Midoriya, and Momo Yaoyorozu. Hey, thank you again for agreeing to help me, said Izuku. It's no problem at all. Besides you also promised to help me with my training so it is a win-win, replied Momo. As the two students put their stuff down, they both heard the sound of a door opening. Turning their heads they saw two more students enter the gym. Entering the gym was Setsuna Tokage, and another student from Class 1B Reiko Yanagi. Reiko is a pale-skinned young woman of average height. She has chin length, pale gray hair parted on her right, which obscures the majority of the left side of her face. She has dark bags under her blue eyes and a small mouth with full lips. Her hands are usually held up as high as her elbows with her hands draped down, this gesture being somewhat connotative of a ghost. "Oh, it's my Dino buddy," yelled Setsuna, running over to Izuku, giving the green-haired teen a hug. "Hello to you too, Setsuna," said Izuku, hugging the girl back. "Hello," said Reiko as she walked up to the two. "Hello, I am Momo Yaoyorozu, it's nice to meet you," said Momo with one of her hands over her chest and giving the 1B student a bow. "And I'm Izuku Midoriya, pleasure to meet you," said Izuku to Reiko. "Hi, I am Reiko Yanagi, I am one of Setsuna's friends from 1B, said Reiko with a gloomy look, bowing to the two students. "Oh come on Yanagi, stop being so serious and gloomy. Cheer up, we get to participate in the UA Sports Festival soon," said Setsuna with a cheery and joyful attitude. "So you two came here to train as well?" asked Momo. "Yeah, Yanagi asked me to help her, given I can attack from multiple angles at once. I take it that the same is for you too," replied Setsuna. "Kinda, Izuku is helping me with my quirk, well I am here to help him see what his limits are," said Momo. "His limits, what do you mean?" asked Reiko. "Yeah, I thought you of all people would know your limits," said Setsuna. "Well, I know some of my limits, like how many changes I can have, and what I can change. But when it comes to other things it is hard to find out. Not a lot of gyms have equipment that can really give people with super strength a real challenge. So I can't really see what I can do," said Izuku, with Setsuna and Yanagi looking at Izuku with awe on their faces, while Momo just nodded her head, already getting this information from Izuku. "Oh okay, that makes sense," said Reiko. "Wait, but don't most gyms have special weights that go up to about 2 tons? asked Setsuna. "Yeah they do, but I can lift a lot more than that," said Izuku with a sheepish expression on his face. "Dang, is he trying to show off to a pretty girl? I see you," said Setsuna with a grin on her face. "Said Reiko, trying to stop Setsuna, that was until she heard Izuku. "I mean, I wasn't planning on showing off to you, but if you would like to watch then be my guest," said Izuku with his own grin, walking over to some of the equipment. Both Reiko and Momo looked at Izuku and thought that he was way too ready for that response. "Ha Setsuna, I think that's the first time one of the guys has got you back before, right?" asked Reiko, not getting a response from Setsuna. As the two girls turned and looked at Setsuna, they both saw that she had pulled some of her hair down in front of her face to try and cover the blush she had. All Setsuna thought about was how Izuku basically called her pretty, which made her happy, knowing that the guys she thought was cool and could become dinosaurs thought she was pretty. While all of this was happening, Izuku was at a piece of equipment that looked like a massive hydraulic press. Looking over the setting of the equipment, Izuku saw that it could continuously increase the amount of weight added onto the device to see how much someone could hold. "This will work. Hey Momo, can you help me with this please?" asked Izuku, pulling Momo's attention and bring Setsuna back to the real world. "Oh sure, what do you need me to do?" asked Momo, walking up to Izuku. "I just need you to activate this and to keep adding weight till I say stop," said Izuku. "Okay, but what is this device for?" asked Momo. "It is to see how much someone can hold up. I want to see what my limit is on this," said Izuku. "Oh okay, I can do that then. Just let me know when to start," said Momo. "Will do," replied Izuku, walking to the center of the device. "Okay, so I want to see how much I can handle. I should try compounding my strength with the 3 strongest creatures from the start. That way I can see if it is possible to compound things like that and to see how much I can lift," thought Izuku as he activated his quirk, feeling the changes, but got a weird feeling when he compounded the strength of the leafcutter ant and the Hercules beetle. To Izuku it felt like his muscles wanted to cramp but were just a stretch away from cramping. Once he added the strength of the dung beetle, Izuku felt every muscle in his body seize up and cramp all at once, sending him to the ground in pain before deactivating his quirk. Seeing their green-haired friend hit the ground in pain, Momo, Setsuna, and Reiko ran up to him in worry. "Izuku, are you okay?" asked Momo. "Izzy, what happened?" asked Setsuna. "Midoriya, is there something wrong?" asked Reiko. "I am okay. I just tried to do something with my quirk but it backfired on me," said Izuku, getting to his feet with the help of Momo and Setsuna. What did you try that caused you to fall in pain? I didn't see you change at all, asked Setsuna. I tried to compound my strength with that of the 3 strongest creatures, but it would seem that my body isn't ready for something like that, replied Izuku. After making sure Izuku was fully okay, the 3 girls went back to the control panel of the device before waiting for Izuku's signal to start. Alright, so no compounding strength, but let's see what the dung beetle alone can do, thought Izuku, changing his muscles to that of the dung beetle. As Izuku gave Momo the signal, she started the machine and watched as the weight increased each time she pushed the button when Izuku told her to. After about 2 minutes of pushing the button, the 3 girls were shocked at the amount of weight Izuku was holding. After giving the signal to stop, Izuku changed his muscle back to normal before walking over to the girls. So how did I do? Asked Izuku. Izuku, you just, said Momo in shock. You just lifted 115 tons. Said Reiko, equally as shocked as Momo, with Setsuna just standing there in awe. Dang, 115 tons, and to think if I compounded that with the other 2 creatures that would be a lot more interesting, said Izuku, pulling out a small notepad from his pocket and writing something down. The 3 girls tried to shake off the shock and awe from seeing what Izuku did, but they couldn't. Each and every test Izuku did made them go straight back to being amazed. When they tested his speed, they saw that he could get up to a speed matching Mach 1.8 or 1317 miles per hour, for a short duration. Izuku could apply the crushing weight of 2 Eiffel Towers put on top of someone when he is in his Titanoboa form without increasing his strength. Izuku even tested the amount of weight he could hold by sticking himself to the ceiling and putting one hand on a weight and only using the sticking from a spider to lift it, and he could lift about 3 tons with no added strength. Izuku even had Momo, Setsuna, and Reiko all shoot him with paintballs at 50 feet away and dodged all but one of the paintballs, and the one he didn't dodge he caught out of the air. Okay, stop. How in the world did you dodge all those shots and catch that paintball? Asked Setsuna, completely dumbstruck. Well, I used the speed of the Southern Californian mite to keep up with the shots, and I gave myself the reaction speed and sight of a dragonfly, which can see something happening within 1/300th of a second. So to me your paintballs were barely moving, replied Izuku, even shocked at some of the stuff he is capable of. That's it, I give up, said Setsuna, throwing her hands in the air. What do you mean? Asked Momo. I mean that I will give up on winning the sports festival if this Superman is going to be in it, said Setsuna, pointing at Izuku, who just looked away in embarrassment. Setsuna, you can't just give up before it starts. It's not like he is unbeatable, said Reiko, trying to help her friend. He is the closest person in power to All Might, probably in the world, said Setsuna, still pointing at an embarrassed Izuku. After getting Setsuna to stop saying that she would give up and not try, with a little help from Izuku promising to take her on another joy ride as a dinosaur, the 4 students went back to training, with Izuku helping the girls whenever they needed his help. Most of the time Izuku just helped the girls practice the quirks by letting them practice things on him, or give them advice on different ways on using their quirks. Izuku shows Momo that she could create a gas or liquid from her body similar to that of Mina, and that she could make objects that stay on her body instead of just having to make it and strap it on. Izuku then showed Setsuna that she could easily trick people by thinking that they cut or hit parts of her body off, putting them in a state of panic from the attack, or throw people off with thinking a limb is out of commission. The most interesting part of the day for Izuku was when he got to help Reiko with her quirk Poltergeist, which allowed her to have a form of telekinesis, which Izuku helped suggest using her quirk on a person's body parts instead of their whole body for more control. As the 4 students walked out of the training gym, they all saw that the sun had set and the moon was high in the sky. It seems that we were in there longer than expected, said Reiko. It would seem. Do you all have a ride home? If not, I can have my limo driver drop you off, asked Momo. Did she just slap us with her money? Thought both Setsuna and Reiko. Thank you for the offer, but I can make my way home on my own. Don't want to keep you out too long, said Izuku. Also, you would rather take a ride from your parents' home than a ride with Momo here, said Setsuna. My parents aren't here, replied Izuku. Wait, then how are you getting home? Asked Momo. Oh, I am going to fly," said Izuku like it was the most normal thing in the world, while sprouting a pair of black feathered wings. "Wait, you can't do that, you're not a pro hero yet so you can't use your quirk in public," said Reiko. "Yeah, Yanagi is right Izuku, you don't have a hero license. You could get in trouble if others see you," said Momo, worried that her classmate would get in trouble. "Oh Izzy, here is a troublemaker. Breaking the law already, trying to be a bad boy," said Setsuna, trying to tease Izuku. "Actually I have a quirk travel license. I can legally use my quirk for travel as long as I follow the rules of travel with a quirk," said Izuku, pulling out his wallet and showing the girls his license. "Wait, we can get those?" asked Setsuna. "Yes you can. You just need to apply for one and have a good reason to have it. For me it is because of where my house is in relation to school. My house is a little far away from here and sometimes the train can take too long to get to and from, so I applied for one and got it," said Izuku, looking at the girls with his wings still out, looking like a fallen angel. "Oh that's interesting, I didn't know that students could get those," said Momo, trying her best to cover up her blush at the sight of Izuku. "If Shiozaki was here, she would think he is an angel or she would try and hit him to repent for his sins," thought Setsuna, while thinking that Izuku looked kinda cool. "Spooky," is all that Reiko could say, but it was enough to get Setsuna to look at her in shock. As Izuku was about to continue talking, he felt his phone vibrate in his pocket. Pulling it out, Izuku saw that it was a message from his mother. "Honey, dinner will be ready soon. I don't mean to rush, but we do have a surprise for you," texted Inko. Putting his phone away, Izuku turned to the girls to say his goodbyes. "Sorry to cut our conversation short, but I need to get home. My parents are waiting for me," said Izuku with a small bow to the girls. "Ah yes, it is no problem, I myself also have to get home," replied Momo. "Yeah, I also have to get going, I'm starving," said Setsuna, rubbing her stomach to emphasize that she was hungry. "I too have to get going," said Reiko, bowing to Izuku and the others. "Well, I will be seeing you all later. Safe travels home," said Izuku, spreading out his wings before flapping them hard and jumping a little, to take off and begin flying home. Once Izuku was a little ways away, the three girls looked at each other before saying something. "So Reiko, correct me if I am wrong, but did you say Izzy was spooky?" asked Setsuna with a grin. Reiko did not respond but simply turned away from the two girls, giving Setsuna all the answers she needed. "I do not understand what this means," said Momo, confused. "Well, you see, Reiko here only calls things she really likes spooky, and given that she said it about Izzy, it makes me think she may have a little crush on him," teased Setsuna to Reiko, who was still looking away. "A crush on Izuku? I mean, I can understand that he is attractive, and smart, and has a cool and useful quirk, and how his freckles make a cute little diamond shape on his cheeks, and how his hero costume clings to his well-chiseled. Wait, what am I thinking? He already has a girlfriend," thought Momo, while her face went red before she slapped her cheeks, confusing Setsuna. "Well, that's for her to accept or deny. But I know one thing. Mama wants some of what he's got," said Setsuna with a naughty look on her face. "Setsuna," yelled both Reiko and Momo. "Hey, I'm just saying. He is basically my perfect guy," said Setsuna. "But Izuku already has a girlfriend," said Momo, getting Setsuna to look at her in shock. "What?" replied Setsuna. "Oh, do you mean that blonde-haired girl? I think her name was Kami," said Reiko. "No, Izuku is dating Pony," said Momo. "Are you sure? I have seen the two of them hanging onto each other a lot and holding hands. She also seems very touchy-feely with Midoriya," said Reiko. "Well, I don't think he is dating her. I have heard Bakugo call Pony Izuku's girlfriend before. But now that you say that, she does get very close to Izuku a lot," said Momo, thinking to herself. As the three girls were trying to figure out who Izuku was dating, said boy was flying over the city, seeing all the lights and hearing all the people going about their night. Feeling the nighttime air rush past him, Izuku felt free, like there was nothing but him and nature in the world. Until he heard the yells of people below him. Looking down, he could see a group of people crowding around something. Flying down closer to the crowd, Izuku landed on a building looking down at the crowd to see them crowding around someone. "Oh my gosh, it's Maruko!" yelled one civilian. "She's amazing!" yelled another civilian. "Oh, it's the rabbit hero, Maruko. She must be dealing with some thugs from the looks of it," said Izuku to himself, seeing one of the thugs unconscious under one of Maruko's feet, with two others cowering away from the rabbit hero. "Come on, you guys were acting like hot shit just a couple minutes ago. What happened?" asked Maruko, making her way to the two scared thugs. I am not going back to jail," yelled one of the thugs as he seemed to burst into a ball of fire, causing all the people that had crowded around to back away with some screaming, and for Maruko to grow a grin on her face. Looking back at the man, he was a light like some kind of Human Torch wannabe, sending streams of fire in all directions, not caring what happened. The other thug, seeing a chance, seemed to transform into some kind of minotaur-like creature and run past Maruko, who was distracted by the fire thug. As she turned around swearing at herself for getting distracted, she was about to take off and stop the runaway villain until she had to dodge a stream of fire that was sent at her. Seeing that she had to do something, Maruko jumped backwards, performing a somersault and landing near a fire hydrant. Using her foot, Maruko kicked the top of the fire hydrant, causing a massive amount of water to start spraying out, before being directed at the fire villain by Maruko using her foot to direct the water. Meanwhile, with the Minotaur villain, he managed to get past Maruko and the crowd of civilians, making it into the road, causing multiple cars to honk at him and have to slam on their brakes to stop their cars from hitting him or other cars. Hearing all the noise around him and being whipped up on adrenaline, the Minotaur villain had gone a little crazy, ran around and over cars, until he turned a corner seeing a truck coming at him. Instead of the villain getting out of the way, he ducked his head and charged the truck, ramming into the side of it, causing it to veer to the side and go out of control, heading straight for a group of people at a crosswalk. Seeing the incoming vehicle, the civilians at the crosswalk all got out of the truck's way, except for a little kid who was frozen in fear at the oncoming vehicle. Hearing people yelling and the screeching of tires trying to stop, the kid closed his eyes waiting for the truck to hit him. But instead of feeling the hard impact of metal, all the kid felt was a pair of arms wrap around him and lift him up, feeling his body move before it all stopped, still feeling the arms around him. As the kid opened his eyes, he could see a tall green-haired boy holding him with a smile on his face. "Hey, are you okay?" asked Izuku to the little kid. Seeing the kid nodding to his question, Izuku let out a breath he was holding and released the kid. As the kid backed up, he almost tripped on some rocks, but when he looked down he could see 6 small trenches in the asphalt leading to Izuku's feet, that at the moment looked like claws. Looking up more, the kid could see that coming from Izuku's back were 4 octopus tentacles that were all attached to the truck that almost hit him. It seemed that while Izuku saved the kid, he also stopped the truck from causing any more damage, seeing that if the truck continued it would have run into a small coffee shop with people still inside. Retracting his tentacles and changing his feet back to normal, Izuku looked at the kid one more time to make sure he was okay, before looking in the direction the Minotaur villain was, seeing him in a charging position facing away from Izuku, preparing to take off to make more distance between him and Maruko. Launching off with great speed, the Minotaur villain charged down the street. Seeing this, Izuku was about to give chase until he heard "Luna Arc!" yelled Maruko from the sky, landing a powerful front axe kick on the Minotaur villain's head, causing his head to slam into the ground and a decent-sized crater to be made under him. Lifting her leg, Maruko could see that the villain reverted back to his normal form and was out cold. Applause. Applause was all that Maruko heard after she had removed her foot from the villain's head. Looking around, she could see all the civilians cheering for her, and celebrating the defeat of the villains. But the rabbit hero didn't care about any of that. All she cared about was finding the kid that saved the child and stopped the truck, but she couldn't see anything. All Maruko saw left of the green-haired kid was the child he saved, looking around for him. Damn brat, saving the day and leaving before anyone could say a word to him. But he did good. Even if I pushed myself to my top speed, I wouldn't have been able to save that small child and stop the truck from hitting the coffee shop. For that, kid, I thank you, thought Maruko, picking up the body of the villain before jumping off to the police to take the villain into custody. Phew, that was close. Maruko almost saw me, and I don't want to get yelled at by any more heroes, thought Izuku, who had turned invisible by mixing multiple camouflaging abilities. Making his way away from the crowd of cheering civilians, Izuku made his way home. But unknown to Izuku, a pair of green reptilian eyes had seen everything he did. Midoriya household. As Izuku made it to his house, he could see his mother's cooking, smelling one of his favorite dishes. "I smell katsudon," thought Izuku with some drool leaking from his mouth. Walking into his house, Izuku announced his presence and he could hear his mother calling him from the kitchen, and could hear his dad in the living room. Walking into the kitchen, Izuku saw his mother in a dark green cooking apron with her hair up in a bun, cooking a decent amount of food. Seeing the amount of food, Izuku thought that it was just to celebrate something important, and that maybe the Bakugos were coming over. "Ha mom," said Izuku, hugging his mother, with Inko hugging her son back. "So what's this surprise that you have for me?" asked Izuku. "Well, it wouldn't be much of a surprise if I tell you, would it?" said Inko. Agreeing with his mother, Izuku made his way to the living room and gave his father a hug. As he finished his hug, he sat down and worked on his homework while talking with his father about his day, and how things were going. After a short time, his mother called him and his father to the dinner table, but as Izuku was making his way to the table, he saw his mother turn to him. "Izuku, are you ready for your surprise?" asked Inko with a smile on her face. "Yeah, what is it?" asked Izuku. As Izuku said this, he felt a strong arm wrap around his neck and pull his head down, and felt another hand's knuckles be placed on his head and start rubbing back and forth, giving Izuku a nuggie. "Ha ha, got you this time," laughed a voice behind Izuku. As Izuku struggled under the arm, he finally managed to get out from under said appendage, only to turn around and see someone he hasn't seen in a long time. "Well, are you just going to stand there catching flies in your mouth, or are you going to give me a hug?" said a tall, dirty, blonde-haired boy with his arms out in a hugging pose. With speed only seen by some, Izuku dashed at the boy and gave him a massive hug. "Cousin Hunter. It's been too long. What are you doing here? How are things in America? You look great. Did you get into a hero course back in the States?" asked Izuku, rapid-firing questions. "Dang Zoo, still haven't gotten rid of your mustering yet, I see. But yes, I am doing fine. Managed to get in a hero course back home and got high marks from them. As for why I am here, it is part of the surprise," said Hunter, gesturing to the table where Inko and Hisashi were waiting. As the two teens sat down and ate dinner, Hunter explained to Izuku how his training with his quirk was going and how things were back home, along with telling Hisashi about his brother. As the conversation continued, Hunter finally dropped the main reason for him coming to Japan. "You're transferring to UA?" asked Izuku, yelling at his cousin. "Zoo, I am right next to you, man. But yes, I am transferring. It's part of a joint teaching course I am in where as long as I continue to improve my quirk and do good on my studies, I can attend any hero school I would like, as long as I pass their hero test," said Hunter while eating his Auntie Inko's cooking. "That's so cool. I wonder if that means you will be joining my class or Class 1B, said Izuku. "Oh yeah, I heard about you making it to UA's hero course. I'm proud of you, man, that's a great accomplishment. I am going to have to hear all about the cool heroes and other students from you sometime," said Hunter. "Thank you. But before I tell you about that, why don't you tell me about this joint teaching course?" said Izuku, with curiosity rolling off him in waves. "Sure. So the way it works is that each country can send one of their top students to study abroad to show their strength and to provide the students with a broader scope of hero work. So once I made it to the top of my school, I was able to come here, and given that my principal had a connection with the UA principal, it made things a lot easier to arrange. Funny thing is, I'm not the only transfer coming to UA. Some person from Mexico is coming," said Hunter. "That's so cool. You made it to the top of your school in this amount of time, and get to study here as a hero student. But wait, how can you be the top of your class already? It hasn't even been a year yet. And would you have any more info on what school you were in and about the other transfer student?" asked Izuku. "Well, I can't tell you much about the other student other than it's a girl. I wasn't told much other than that. As for the other questions, my school is a combined school, so it's a K-12 school, so I have been in it for a while. As for my school, it is the Xavier School for Gifted Children, one of the USA's best hero schools, said Hunter with pride at talking about his school. No way, you're in the greatest hero school in the U.S., that's amazing, said Izuku with stars in his eyes. As the two continued to talk, Izuku learned that his cousin would be living with him and his parents, and how his training and improvement of his quirk was going. Hi. Next day, walking into his classroom, Izuku had a massive smile on his face which everyone saw. As he made it to his seat, he was immediately stopped from doing anything by a pair of arms wrapping around his neck and something soft pressing against his back. What made you so happy? Did you get lucky with someone? Oh Izu, how could you? Said Kami, teasing Izuku. Rolling his eyes, Izuku turned his head to see one of his girlfriends who was doing her best to fake pout. No Kami, I'm still innocent. But I did get a good surprise, said Izuku, with Kami letting go of him. Well, what's this surprise that's made you so happy? Asked Kami. Well, I got to see my cousin from America the other day, and he told me that he will be transferring to our school and joining the hero course, said Izuku. No way, your cousin is joining us? Asked Kami, in shock. Well, first he has to pass some kinda test to get in, and it's not 100% that he is joining our class given that there's another transfer student from Mexico, said Izuku. Wait there. 2 transfers, and they are both from out of the country, said Kami still in shock. While Izuku was talking with Kami, there was another student looking at him trying to figure something out that was nagging at the back of her head. Is Izuku dating Kami? But I thought he was dating Pony. Unless he is not dating them and they are just very forward. Does that mean he is available? Wait, no, don't think that, thought Momo, who had shook her head after thinking about Izuku being available. Hearing his teacher coming, Izuku warned his girlfriend, who quickly made her way to her seat before Mr. Aizawa entered the room. As the teacher walks in, he sees that his students were all in their seats ready to learn, which put a small smile on his face. Good to see you all taking your education seriously now. But now it's time for me to inform you of some very important information, said Aizawa, causing everyone to get scared, fearing that someone may get expelled. During the sports festival, I expect you all to give it your best. Remember, you are students and this is a learning environment, so take this as a chance to learn how to use your quirks in different ways, said Aizawa, causing everyone to let out a sigh of relief. Once was done talking, the students went back to their normal classes until the end of the day. As they all heard the bell to leave, they all grabbed their stuff and walked to the door, only to be stopped by a massive group of students. Hey, what gives? Asked Denki, confused on why their exit was blocked. Excuse me, but can you all please move so we may leave our classroom to go home? Asked Ida, swinging his arms like he was directing traffic. Why are they even here? Asked Pony. To scope out the competition, said Katsuki, staring at the crowd. Ho ho ho. What do you know, for once Class 1A isn't hogging all the attention. From the obvious better Class 1, Monoma was stopped by Rin with a chop to his neck. Don't worry, the same thing is happening to us in our room. But I would like to say, in the manner of good sportsmanship, we will beat you, said Rin, pulling Monoma back to the classroom. Once all the students dispersed and went home, everyone mentally prepared themselves for the sports festival. Be that from reading up on information, to training into the night. But for one of our future heroes, his preparations were a little different. As Izuku walked to his dojo, to talk with his sensei, he could see that Itsuka and her family were not at the dojo. Walking in, Izuku could see that the only place that was alight was his sensei's personal area. Walking over, he could see that his sensei was on the phone talking to someone. What do you mean she is here? And why wasn't I told about this, especially given I am her only family here? I know she doesn't like how the family is, but she should know I am not the same. Yes, I understand, it's just, okay, yeah, I did. I already had tickets to watch some of my students. I will, love you too, bro, said Tiamat on the phone before ending the call and putting the phone down. Grabbing the table that she had put her phone on, Tiamat began to breath heavily before lashing out, growing her tail and hitting a punching bag near her and sending it flying to the other side of the room. Taking deep breaths, Tiamat tried her best to calm down but was having a hard time until she heard something. Sensei. asked Izuku, with Tiamat turning to him in embarrassment. How long were you there? What did you hear? Asked Tiamat. I just got here. Is everything okay? Asked Izuku, worried about his sensei. Yes and no, said Tiamat, gesturing to the mat where she sat down, and Izuku sat down across from her. I know I have told you a little about my family, and what they are like. But there is a dark side to every story. You see, my family is known for having their strong transformation-type quirks, mainly animals and creatures. But the thing others don't know is that my family head, my grandfather, is very stuck in his ways, and sees people with emitter and mutant-type quirks as weak, and even those with transformation types that aren't animals as weak too, explained Tiamat to Izuku. Well, one day my elder brother Bahamut fell in love with a girl he met when he was in school. They loved each other and got along greatly. She even got along with me and I loved her like a sister. One day my brother married her and had a child without my family's knowledge. When my grandfather learned of this and that she didn't have a transformation-type quirk, just a mutation that made her have feathers come off parts of her body, he was furious. He was so mad that he threatened to kill my brother's wife, in front of the whole family. But the only person to stand up to him was my brother, said Tiamat, starting to cry, with Izuku getting closer to his sensei and giving her a hug. When my brother stood up to him, he attacked him, trying to kill his wife, changing into his transformation, which is a sphinx. But my brother at the time was known as the strongest in my family, transforming into a massive dragon, attacking our grandfather to protect his wife, who at the time was pregnant. Others in the family transformed and attacked my brother to help our grandfather, while I helped my sister-in-law escape the room. I managed to help get her away from everyone, but that's when she started to go into labor. I managed to get her into my room and block the entrance to stop other members of my family from getting in. I did the best I could to help, but I had never done anything like that before. That's when I sensed someone coming through my door and got ready to fight whoever it was, which is when I saw a snake slither under my door and past the barracks. As the snake changed back to normal, I saw my mother standing there looking at me and my brother's wife. I thought she was going to try and do something until she asked why I was standing there and not help her deliver the baby. To which my mother went past me and helped my brother's wife deliver, said Tiamat, crying and sobbing, blowing her nose on a tissue that Izuku grabbed for her. Once the baby was born, she was extremely weak from the painful delivery. But she told me the name that she and my brother agreed on if it was a girl, to which she was. They named her Ketsuyu. Once she had been wrapped in a blanket and given to her mother, we heard a noise at my door. Turning, we saw my brother standing there breathing heavily and with cuts and injuries all over him, but the smile on his face at the sight of his daughter was unforgettable. As we made our way to the exit of my family's estate, we were blocked by my grandfather and other members of our family. He demanded that we stop and surrender my brother and his wife. When we refused, he and the other members of my family transformed and stood ready to fight my brother, who had transformed again, but I could tell he was still tired from the earlier fight. So I told my mother to stay with his wife and I joined in with my brother, fully transforming and standing against my family. They all charged me and my brother, ready to kill all of us, until a massive stone landed in between us and my father landed in front of me and my brother facing our grandfather, transformed into his form, which he calls Behemoth. He is not as strong as me or my brother, but he was the biggest in my family, where I am 50 feet long and my brother is 60 feet long. Our father stood at a height of almost 180 feet. His transformation was like a massive gorilla with sloth-like claws on his front arms and two massive curved tusks. He threatened to flatten the whole estate if his father didn't let them leave. Not taking any chances, me and my brother stood next to him, pushing the point. My grandfather reluctantly agreed and allowed us to leave, banishing my brother and father from the family, with me and my mother leaving the family, with all of us adopting the last name of my mother, Akamono. But once we got my brother's wife to the hospital, we were informed that the stress of having the baby and from the conflict she passed away from heart failure, said Tiamat, sobbing at the memory, with Izuku doing his best to comfort his teacher by hugging her and rubbing her back. After that, my parents went away from my family and my brother took his daughter and moved away. After some time passed and her quirk awakened, my grandfather learned about what her quirk was and tried everything to get her into the family but failed. And after years of me not being able to see her for her safety, she is coming here to go to your school and be a hero. But she never came to see me or even tell me she was here," said Tiamat, letting the floodgates open, crying almost the same amount of tears as Izuku and his mother could. After calming his sensei down and talking to her a little more, Izuku promised to help her find her niece and to help protect her from her family. Making it back to his house, Izuku made his way straight to Hunter's room to talk to him. "Hunter, I need your help," asked Izuku, barging straight through the door. Seeing the look on his cousin's face and feeling the anger in him, Hunter dropped everything he was doing. "What do you need? You name it, I can do it," replied Hunter with determination in his voice. The two teens talked the whole night, with Izuku explaining everything to Hunter about what he learned about Tiamat's niece, and what he wants to do. Day of the sports festival. There were stalls selling food and hero memorabilia all over UA. There are thousands of people walking around excited to watch the UA Sports Festival and see future heroes. While all the students were in their corresponding class waiting room, they were hyping themselves up and getting ready for the competition. "Ha ha ha, I wish I could have worn my hero costume," said Mina with a pout. "But Mina, some of our hero costumes give us advantages against others, which wouldn't be fair," said Melissa, cleaning her glasses. "I know, but I still want to wear it," said Mina, crossing her arms. As Izuku was sitting talking with his girlfriends, he heard someone next to him. Turning to see who it was, Izuku saw it was Shoto Todoroki standing there. "Can I help you, Todoroki?" asked Izuku. "At the moment you are the strongest student in the class, if not the school. But I will defeat you," said Shoto with a cold look on his face. "Whoa there, Todoroki, what's up with the declaration?" asked Kami, standing up behind Izuku. "It's to say that I will win, and I will do it only using my ice," said Shoto. Hearing this caused some of the students to get a little mad at Shoto. "Hey, Icy Hot, you think you can beat Deku with only half your power? Please, you would be lucky to beat me with your full power," said Katsuki, coming to stand next to Izuku. "Todoroki, I am not the only competition you have here. We are all trying our best to win. But if you wish to challenge me, then I will challenge you back. That goes for everyone here. I want you to give it your all and to try your best," said Izuku, hyping everyone in the room up and causing Shoto to look at Izuku with anger in his eyes. Hearing the announcement over the intercom to come to the field, all of Class 1A made their way to the field, meeting up with Class 1B. Walking together, the two classes walked out from under the stadium, hearing the voice of President Mike and the roaring cheers of thousands of people ready to see them compete. Taking a deep breath, Izuku took the first step into the light of the stadium with both Class 1A and 1B behind him. "Alright, sports fans, let's get excited," yelled President Mike, hyping up the crowd of fans who were going crazy, yelling so loud that even President Mike needed to check his hearing. "Alright, that's what I like to hear. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the time has come, so please give a loud welcome to our future heroes. Entering the field now is our rising hero classes 1A and 1B, yelled out President Mike, as both hero classes entered the area with Izuku at the head of both classes. "Wow, that's a lot of people. Makes me a little nervous," said Pony next to Izuku. "What do you mean? This is great, now we can get seen by the whole world," said Kami, smiling. "Why do there have to be so many cameras? If we make a mistake, then it's out there for everyone to see," said Itsuka. "Oh man, I'm getting pumped up for this," said Kirishima, slamming his knuckles together, activating his quirk and causing sparks to appear. "Oh, what is this? Is Class 1A being nervous? Could this be the chance we need for the real stars of this school, Class 1B, to shine? Shouldn't we knock him out so he would stop?" asked Rin. "We can't not while on live television. Just let Manama be, he will get what he deserves in time," said Setsuna, walking with her class. "Ya sports fans, that's the excitement I like to hear. Now let's keep it up with our next batch of students. Let's hear it for General Studies classes C, D, and E," yelled President Mike as the General Studies students walked out, feeling like they were only there to boost the number of competitors. "Hey, is it just me, or do most of them look like they are depressed or something?" asked Kami. "Either that or they are having a really bad day," seconded Itsuka. "Keep those cheers coming for the next group of students," Coming in from the support course are classes F, G, and H. Yelled Present Mike, with support company representatives being seen taking notes and having assistants giving them info on different students. Interesting, their classes are bigger than ours, said Melissa, adjusting her glasses. You say that like you're shocked, said Momo. Well yeah, I was almost put in the support course. But luckily the person ahead of me in the hero course dropped out, said Melissa. Really, who would drop out of the hero course? Wondered Momo. And finally the classes that teach our future hero workers. Let's welcome business classes I, J, and K. Yelled Present Mike with a little extra flair for the final classes. As the students all gathered in front of a stage, most of them were in shock at what they were seeing. Standing on the stage with what looked like a whip in hand was one of their teachers, the R-rated heroine Midnight. As the students stood there, most of the guys had to look in different directions so as not to have a specific reaction at that moment, while the girls had on a look of envy as they could hear the catcalls from the men in the crowd. While this was happening, our favorite green-hair boy is having a different kind experience. Might I ask why I am being pinched on two sides and have an illusion mist in front of my eyes? Asked Izuku if it could be seen that there was a cloud of mist in front of Izuku's eyes and that Pony and Itsuka were pinching his arms. Because we don't need you acting like all the other boys here and staring at Midnight Sensei like a piece of meat, said Itsuka. Yeah, Ms. Midnight should have a warning label on her costume, or something, said Pony. Cracking her whip, Midnight got the attention of all the students in the crowd, even if some of the attention she was getting was that of lust from some of the men, and looks of envy from some women. Now before we have our introductory speech, we have a special announcement to all attending. This year we have the great pleasure to host not one but two hero transfer contestants. These two contests are here a part of a special hero program where the top student of each academy around the world can have a chance to attend and graduate from a different school in hopes to broaden their understanding of hero work and to promote helpful cooperation between countries, said Midnight, with the crowd of people getting even more excited. No way we get to see the hero transfers this year, this is so cool. I know, right? The last time they did a hero transfer was when the current third years were in their first year festival. To think these kids are the top of their class at a different school in a different country. This should be quite the show. Isn't this the same transfer event that led All Might to America for a couple years? Yeah, that's right, he had transferred to the U.S. while an American hero student came here. Oh yeah, I remember him. Isn't that student one of the United States top 10 now? What was his name? Yeah, you're right, it was the Sonic hero, Banshee, said multiple people in the crowd, excited to hear what transfer students were coming to Japan. Cracking her whip multiple times, Midnight got the crowd to calm down a little. Now allow me to introduce our transfer students, said Midnight, holding her whip out to the side, pointing towards one of the stadium openings. It could be seen in the dim light of the tunnel someone walking out, but due to the lighting no one could see who it was. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me introduce our first transfer. Coming all the way from the United States of America and the Xavier School for Gifted Students, please welcome Hunter Midoriya. Yelled out Midnight as Hunter entered the arena wearing a U.A.P.E. uniform and a tattered tan scarf around his neck. As Hunter walked towards the other students, he could hear the crowd around him yelling in excitement, and he could also see that some of the students, mainly the females, were staring at him with light blushes on their faces. As Hunter made it to the students, he could hear whispers from them about him looking strong, or him looking handsome. Hey Izuku, his name is Midoriya as well. Is he related to you? Asked Pony. Yep, he is actually my cousin, and is living with me and my parents, said Izuku, looking at his cousin with a smile. Oh, so that's the cousin you were talking about, Izu. I guess good looks run in the family, said Kami with a smirk on her face. Yeah, I guess it does. But then again, his mother is a model, so I guess he has an unfair advantage, said Izuku, getting the attention of the other students. What? Yelled out multiple students. In the stands, sitting in a versus I.P. booth were the Midoriya and Bakugo families, eating food and chatting with each other. So that's little Izuku's cousin? Asked Mitsuki. Yeah, that's my brother's son. He is a bright and strong young man, replied Hisashi. Oh, you talk him up like he is stronger than Izuku, said Masaru. He is strong, but I still think my son can win, said Hisashi. Well, that's good to hear. For a second there I thought you were saying my student would lose to him, said Tiamat, entering the versus IP room. Ah, Tiamat, you made it. For a second there I thought you weren't going to make it, said Inko, getting up and hugging Tiamat. Please, I wouldn't miss this for the world. But you didn't have to invite me to this versus IP room. I know it's for family and can be quite pricey, said Tiamat. Oh please, you treat my son like your own and he sees you as an important person, so please don't think that you don't belong here, said Inko, smiling. And besides, the price of this was free given that my husband is friends with one of the staff and got the tickets as a gift, said Mitsuki. Ah well, then I won't overthink about it anymore. Thank you, said Tiamat. As the adults were about to continue talking, they all heard the name of the second transfer student, and upon hearing the name, Tiamat had a look of sadness cross her face, especially when she saw the beauty of the person that just entered the area. She grew up with her mother's beauty, thought Tiamat. Arena, now please help me introduce our second transfer student. Coming all the way from Mexico and the Heroic Justice Academy, please welcome Ketsuyu Ikemono, yelled out Midnight, pointing to the opposite entrance of the arena. Walking out of the darkness into the light was a sight that many men refused to look away from. Many of the students, including some girls, were in awe at the sight in front of them. Standing tall and walking with the confidence of a top 10 hero was a 6'2", long blonde-haired girl that many men would say had the perfect female body. Walking in with the U.A.P. uniform and a bandana around her forehead with the Mexican flag's colors was Ketsuyu Ikemono. Ketsuyu wears her hair in multiple long braids that end just past her waist and two smaller ones the end just past her shoulders that frame her strong but gentle face, with piercing green eyes and a small green gem under her bottom lip. As she walked to join the rest of the students, she was waving her hands at the crowd of spectators and blowing kisses all around like a media athlete does after winning a game. Once the crowd settled down and Ketsuyu joined Hunter close to the other classes, Midnight continued her speech. Now it's time for the introductory speech. And for this year it is the first place hero student, Izuku Midoriya, yelled out Midnight, pointing to Izuku, who was shocked that he would be doing the speech. Hey, congratulations man, you get to do the speech for the first year, said Kirishima, patting Izuku on the back. Man, good thing it was you and not Bakugo, said Kaminari. That's supposed to mean dumbass, yelled Bakugo. I think what he means is that you would probably go up there and say something like you would win, or that you would beat everyone, said Izuku, walking up to the podium. Hey, I would have said something other than that, maybe, said Bakugo, whispering the last part to himself. I heard that, said Izuku with a smile. Stupid animal hearing, said Bakugo under his breath again. As Izuku walked up to the podium and stood next to Midnight, he started to get a little nervous given he didn't have a speech planned. Feeling a tap on his shoulder, Izuku looked to see Midnight looking at him. I take it the Aizawa didn't tell you. Getting a nod at Midnight continued. Don't worry, just say some quick words and then you can be on your way. It does not have to be a grand speech, said Midnight with a reassuring smile. Nodding his head, Izuku walked up to the microphone and took a deep breath. Releasing the breath and feeling a bit more confident, Izuku looked at the crowd of students and began his speech. What does it mean to be a hero? Hearing these words, the whole crowd went silent, and gave Izuku their utmost attention. When I was growing up, I had a thought in mind that told me a hero was someone that saved others, but to other people the word hero meant something else. Because of these different views, many people are told that they can't be something or that they are something simply because of their quirk. I wanted to be a hero as a kid, but I was told that I was nothing but a monster because of my quirk. I have seen others told that they are weak or that they are evil because of their quirks. I almost believed them, until I saw a young student at my dojo help save a person's life. He was told that he could never be a hero because his quirk was too weak. He had a quirk that let him sense the water around him in a 10-foot area. But one day a building collapsed and heroes were trying to find the person inside the rubble. They couldn't find the person until the student pointed to exactly where the person was, saving their life. I have been told recently that I have a strong quirk, but what is strength? Is it the ability to destroy? Or is it the power to help those around me? I don't know, but what I do know is that even if I had a weak quirk I would still use it to be a hero, a real hero. A hero is someone who gives everything they can, often putting their own life at great risk, for the greater good of others, without expecting anything in return. So I leave all with my final statement and a quote from All Might. In the words of All Might, nothing is nobler than self-sacrifice. Now to all my competitors, come at me with everything you got to prove why you are strong, because I will come at you with all I have. Any less would be an insult to your hard work, said Izuku, walking away from the mic, leaving everyone in the stadium in silence. But before Izuku could even make it off the podium he could hear two people clapping. Everyone turned to see both Katsuki and Hunter clapping with smiles on their faces. Before Izuku could register his cousin and brother clapping, he heard more clapping coming from his girlfriends who all smiled at him, as more and more people started clapping. The stadium again to shake with the thunderous applause of the crowd before clapping turned into a roaring cheer. "Ya man! That was so manly!" yelled Kirishima. "That was great!" yelled Pony. Up in the VIP room, both of the Midoriya's parents could be seen crying while holding each other, while Masaru was smiling with Mitsuki cheering her head off, swearing left and right. But the person feeling the most impacted was Tiamat, who was looking down at the arena with a smile on her face and tears rolling down her face. "Thank you, Izuku. Now keep your promise and win," thought Tiamat, looking over at the transfer student from Mexico. "So I guess I did good?" asked Izuku, making it back to class, getting a pat on the back from Kirishima and a hug from the pony. "I could have done better, but it was good," said Bakugo, smirking. That speech got me fired up. "Now then, sports fans, let's get this sports festival started," yelled Present Mike. Bringing up a massive hologram screen, Midnight cracked her whip, announcing that the first challenge would be what appeared on the quickly spinning screen. As the crowd focused intensely on the screen to see what the challenge would be, there was a collected gasp when the screen stopped, revealing the challenge to be the first challenge of the sports festival is the obstacle course. Announced at midnight, got a mixed reaction from the group of students. As the students saw what the challenge was, some got excited thinking that they get to cut loose and really show off, some were wondering what the obstacles would be, and some didn't even want to be there, mainly the students from the business classes. Now for the rules of this obstacle course. The course will be 4 kilometers long and go all the way around the arena, ending once you pass the gate to re-enter the arena. When it comes to using your quirks, you have free reign on anything you want to do as long as you don't hurt another student. I have been told though that those that can fly have been forbidden to fly over the whole obstacle course. Got to challenge you a little at least," said Midnight. Hearing the rules, some of the competitors were downtrodden that they couldn't fly over the course, but understood where the teachers were coming from. You won't be able to fly everywhere, sometimes you have to use other forms of locomotion. After understanding the rules, all the students lined up at the starting point, with the majority crowding around the front of the line. But most of the hero students were stuck at the back of the line as a way to give the other classes a chance, given they didn't have hero training. Alright sports fans, it's time for the festival's first challenge to begin. Let's give our little listeners a countdown. 10 inches, yelled Present Mike, starting the countdown with the crowd joining in. 9 inches. The minute it starts there's no team, just one versus all, thought Bakugo, with mini explosions popping in his hands. 8 inches. Here it comes. Time to show what I can do, thought Ochako. 7 inches. This is my chance to prove I'm the best to Izu, thought Kami with a smirk on her face. 6 inches. I have to show Izuku how strong I have gotten, thought Itsuka. 5 inches. Alright, let's show Izuku what this country girl got, thought Pony. 4 inches. I can do this. I can do this. I can beat Izzy, thought Setsuna. 3 inches. Alright Zoo, time to show you how we do it in America, thought Hunter while taking his shoes off. 2 inches. Midoriya, I will beat you and show my father I don't need his power, thought Todoroki with frost building up on his body. 1 inch. Time to unleash the beast, thought Izuku, grinning with fangs protruding from his grin and his eyes glowing red. Goo, yelled the crowd, with every student charging forth with everything they had. And we are off to the races. So my mummified commentator, what kinda stuff should we watch out for in the beginning of the obstacle course? Yelled Present Mike to the crowd and Aizawa. How did you get me to do this again? But to answer the question, it would be the entrance right now, said Aizawa with a mischievous undertone. OWW, that's my leg. Ha, don't push. Watch where those hands go, said multiple students, and they were trying to squeeze through the narrow entranceway. Oh, what's this? It would seem that the students are stuck in the entrance. What could be the problem? Announced Present Mike. So this is the first obstacle. I should have known this would have happened. But good thing I came prepared, said Izuku as he jumped out of the crowd of students and onto the side of the wall, crawling across it like a spider. As he was crawling, he noticed that on the other side there was another student doing the same. Crawling on the opposite wall was Suyu Asui, using her frog Quirk to stick to the walls and get past all the students. It seems I'm not the only one that had this idea, said Izuku to himself as he continued crawling until he felt a small chill pass through the air. Before anyone knew what happened, a massive blast of cold air passed through the entrance and started to freeze everything it touched. As the mist at the end of the entrance cleared, it could be seen that everyone was frozen to the ground, all except one boy who was running past all the students, producing ice on the ground he stepped on. Sorry everyone, said Todoroki as he ran ahead of everyone, stealing first place straight from the start. But to his surprise, not everything went according to Todoroki's plan. Shattering the ice under his clawed feet was Izuku, who was charging after Shoto along with multiple other students. Momo was producing a pole from her hand, pushing her up and forward, avoiding the ice. Not going to get me with that trick, Todoroki, said Momo. While Bakugo was firing off explosions to fly over the ice and to catch up to Shoto. Get your ass back here, half and half, yelled Bakugo with the competitor's fury in his eye. Following close behind his cousin was Hunter, who was stepping on pillars of earth that shot out of the ground and pushed him forward. Come on, Todoroki. Bobby could do so much better than this, said Hunter with a grin on his face. Name Hunter Midoriya. Quirk. Earthbending. With his quirk, Hunter has complete control over the very ground he stands on, giving him an almost infinite sources of offense and defense. Quirk information brought to you by Present Mike. Behind the leading members of the festival there were multiple things happening, ranging from students breaking the ice around their feet, to some trying to ice skate across the frost land, and even 3 full classes of students forfeiting the challenge, all from the business courses. Damn it, did he have to freeze us? Said Itsuka, trying to get out of the ice that surrounded her. I know this is so totally not cool, said Kami, doing the same. Hey, I see what you did there, said a voice behind the 2 trapped girls. Flying past them was Pony, who was standing on 2 of her horns that kept her from being frozen. Well, good luck y'all, but it looks like I'll win this bet, said the pony, flying away from Kami and Itsuka with both having fury and rage on their faces. Off to the side of the 2 girls was Shinso, who looked to be being carried by multiple other students. That was close, almost got me with that attack, said Shinso as the students carrying him continued onward. Oh, and it looks like we have our primary leaders for the start of this race. What are your thoughts, Eraser? Asked Present Mike. Todoroki had the right idea. By freezing the entrance, he both guaranteed his spot in the front and also limited the movement of others. But as you can see, our students are trained to find ways around such things and push forward. As for those that didn't escape the frost, they might need to hone their sense of danger a little more, said Aizawa in his monotone voice. Continuing to run ahead of the others, Shoto was slightly shocked at the number of people that avoided his attack. Guess some of them have more skill than I gave them credit. But it doesn't matter, I will be the winner here with nothing but my ice, thought Shoto, until he felt the ground around him shaking. Looking ahead of him there was a massive dust cloud that towered over him, but in the cloud of dust multiple glowing red eyes looked straight at the students. As the dust cleared, multiple 0-pointer robots and dozens of 1, 2, and 3-pointer robots were blocking the path of the students. As Shoto approached the robots, one of the 0-pointers reached out its hand to grab him. So these are what my classmates had to fight in the entrance exam. I wish that the school would give more of a challenge, given that my dear old dad is watching, thought Shoto as frost appeared on his right hand before a massive ice wall slammed into the 0-pointer, freezing it in place. Look at this, folks, not even a second into the first obstacle and one of our recommendation students, Shoto Todoroki, stops the attack cold. But is it enough to take out all of the robots in the Robo Inferno? yelled Present Mike, with Aizawa sighing at the name. Releasing a frosty breath from his mouth, Shoto continued to run under the frozen robot. "Hey, look, he froze it, we can run right past," said one of the students. "I wouldn't do that. I froze them while they were off balance," said Shoto as the robot began to fall. As the robot fell, the students started to run away so as to not get crushed, but because of the ice on the ground some of them slipped and couldn't get away in time. But before the robot crushed the students, there was a resounding clang followed by two voices. "Smash! Heavy impact!" yelled out Melissa and Izuku as their attacks hit the robot's head, causing it to implode on itself and sent flying back away from the students and crushing some of the other robots. "That was close," said Izuku with the right side of his page E uniform shredded and his right arm in a fist with pangolin plates on it and his muscles bulging. "You're not wrong. How could he do that? Put others at risk," said Melissa, cleaning the dust off her glasses. Before anyone else could say anything, a massive explosion sounded off on top of the head of one of the 0-pointers. Blasting out of the smoke was Katsuki with a crazy grin on his face. "Come on, your bucket of bolts give me more of a challenge," yelled Katsuki, blasting multiple explosions at the 0-pointers as he went flying past them. "Of course he would do that," said Izuku, sweat dropping before getting his own grin to appear. Grabbing the sleeve of his left arm, Izuku ripped it off and changed his nails into long claws resembling that of a Therizinosaurus, but were much sharper looking to have some tiger-like feathers. Changing his legs to locust legs, he launched off the ground and towards the 0-pointers and started to slice right through their metal armor like a hot knife through butter. "Come on Izzy, why you got to show off so much?" said Setsuna, pulling the wires out of a 1-pointer with her floating hand. Looking up, Setsuna saw a massive hand coming towards her, but before she even moved to avoid the hand, it exploded. Turning around, Setsuna could see Momo standing next to a cannon with smoke coming out of the barrel, with her exposed stomach glowing as another cannonball was made. As each student handled the smaller 1, 2, and 3-pointers, there were some who went straight at the 0-pointers to bring them down. Rushing up the leg of one 0-pointer was Melissa, with golden lightning dancing off of her as she slammed her fist into the waist of the 0-pointer, crushing the metal and causing the 0-pointer to turn off. "Just got to hit them in the right spot to damage their power core," said Melissa, jumped off the 0-pointer and ran to catch up to Todoroki, Bakugo, and Izuku, who were all at the head of the pact. Following behind Melissa was a pony who just flew over the robots, with Kami and Itsuka trying to follow behind her but were being stopped by the smaller robots. Itsuka was smashing robots with her enlarged hands, and Kami was performing acrobatics to avoid the attacks and get behind the robots to turn them off by ripping out wires and cables. Unaware to the two girls, there was a massive fist rushing towards them, and they had no idea until someone yelled out to them to watch out. As the two saw the fist coming, they tried to think of something to do, but there was no need when a massive stone spike sprouted from the ground and impaled the 0-pointer's hand, stopping it dead in its tracks. "I hope you two are okay. Can't have Zoo get upset because his friends got hurt on my watch," said Hunter, standing on 2 floating stones. "Wait, you're Izuku's cousin, right?" asked Itsuka, seeing the resemblance of the two and remembering that he had Izuku's last name as well. "Yep. While I should say I am one of his cousins. He has 2 more, given they are my siblings, but I am the cooler one," said Hunter, puffing up his chest. Sweat dropping at the overconfidence of the Hunter, both Kami and Itsuka saw the 0-pointer pulling its other hand back to attack Hunter. "Hey, watch out!" yelled Itsuka, running to help the boy, but was stopped when she saw his grin and saw turn around and aim his fists at the ground like he was holding a blanket. Upon seeing this, both girls were confused until, in one motion like throwing a blanket over someone, 3 massive earth spikes shot out of the ground and impaled the 0-pointer through the shoulder, chest and head all at the same time, destroying the inner workings of the 0-pointer. "Oh, you have got to be kidding me. Are all Midoriya ridiculously strong?" asked the irate Setsuna. "Ha ha ha. Well, I won't say that we are ridiculously strong, but most of the younger Midoriyas are quite strong in our own rights," said Hunter, grinning. "Of course," said Setsuna, slapping her forehead. "Now I would love to stay and chat, but I am very competitive, so," said Hunter, jumping off the stones, and as his feet hit the ground it sank into itself like a trampoline before pushing him back up and forward, with Hunter driving a wave of earth forward. "Show off," yelled Setsuna, not noticing another zero-pointer being destroyed by the other transfer student as she punched a hole straight through it. Look at this, sports fans. The students just arrived at the first obstacle and they're already through, but are they ready for the next obstacle is the question, said Present Mike. Looking ahead, most of the students were shocked or afraid at what they saw. They can't be serious, right? Said Kaminari as he saw the next obstacle. Hope you all aren't afraid of heights because the next obstacle is the fall, yelled out Present Mike as a massive chasm with large rock pillars that acted as platforms for the students to use with cables connecting the pillars together. As the leading students approached the second obstacle, most of them already had a plan to get across the chasm. As Todoroki approached the first cable connecting the platform, he put his right foot forward on the cable and started to lead on the cable with ice being made under his right foot, pushing him forward. Following close behind him was Bakugo, who was just blasting him away from platform to platform. Get back here, you half and half bastard, yelled Bakugo. As Izuku approached the obstacle, he had a wide grin on his face, charging straight towards the edge of the chasm. Izuku dived straight off the edge and into the chasm, scaring everyone that was watching and the students behind him. But their worry was unneeded when Izuku came swinging out of the chasm on what looked to be webbing. As Izuku swung through the chasm from pillar to pillar, he had one thought going through his head. Dang, this is a lot harder to do than I thought it would be. Spider-Man makes it look so easy, thought Izuku as he did his best to not hit any of the pillars. Holy cow, folks, talk about a jaw-dropping scare. To think a student would do something like that is crazy, but sometimes the element of surprise is a great tool to be used, yelled Present Mike with the crowd yelling in excitement. So he is using his quirk to get around tight terrain in a different way than normal. Might need to see if he could learn the same trick as me when it comes to swinging from building to building, thought Aizawa, not falling asleep for once. Hey, don't take all the attention for yourself. Leave some for us, yelled out Hunter as he approached the chasm, sending his arms up and at an angle, causing a pillar of earth to launch him into the air and onto another pillar before repeating the same trick to get across the chasm. They make it look so easy, said Mina, breathing a little heavily. Yeah, but now it's our turn to show what we can do, said Ochako with determination in her eyes. As they talked, they both noticed Tsuyu stepping up next to them and wondering what she was doing. Before they could ask, Tsuyu jumped into the air and landed on the cable connecting to the pillars and started to easily crawl across them. This is my chance to show off my quirk, said Tsuyu, making it to the next platform. As the students watched the leading students get across the chasm, there was one who was grinning with a shine in their eyes. Ha 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 ha. Hearing their laughter, all the remaining students turned to see a girl with pink dreadlocks wearing a ton of support gear laughing like a maniac. This is the best obstacle ever, said the girl. Hey, you're from the support course? Asked Ochako. Hey wait, why do you get to have all that gear? Asked Mina, unhappy that she couldn't have her support gear. Ah, you see, you hero students get a lot of heroic training and quirk training than the rest of us. So to make things fair, the school allows us in the support course to use our inventions as long as we can carry them, and we made them. Now bear witness to the greatness that is my babies, said the girl as a cable was fired from the backpack on her that embedded itself into one of the pillars. As the cable went tight, the girl activated some type of boot that made her hover off the ground before being pulled by the cable and sent flying into the chasm. So are all the people in the support course crazy, or just her? Asked Kami, shocked at what just happened. No idea, but we're not going to win just sitting here, said Itsuka, hopping on a cable and climbing across it. Making it to the other side of the chasm, Izuku was slightly winded with all the swinging. As he looked up at the head of the pack, he noticed that he was no longer in third place but in fifth. Noticing that he was behind, he started to run, increasing his speed slightly so as not to miss something, which came in handy when he saw a sign close to Todoroki that said danger. He was slightly confused but was rid of that once he heard what Present Mike said. And here we are, folks, the final obstacle of the race. But it is also the hardest. Hope you are good at watching your step because you have just entered a minefield, announced Present Mike, following up with a description of the mine and how they wouldn't hurt the students but they would give a little scare. A minefield, and it looks like Todoroki has slowed down, but both Bakugo and Hunter are using their quirks to avoid the mines, and wait when Tiamat Sensei's niece gets ahead of me. Thought Izuku was surprised to know the person he needed to talk to for his sensei was ahead of him. Knowing that he needed to catch up and surpass the people in front of him. Izuku had a dumb idea that might not work, but if it does could give him the victory. Making it to the edge of minefield, Izuku got into a runner's stance and changed his legs to grasshopper legs for spring-like limbs, and changed his eye to that of a dragonfly to slow down his perception of things around him. And finally, the most important change for his idea, he gave himself the speed of the California Mite. Holding his runner's stance, Izuku could feel the muscles in his body tensing up, ready to explode and send him flying at a moment's notice. Taking a deep breath, Izuku could feel the ground under his feet start to crack as he forced his feet into the ground to increase his takeoff speed. As the muscles in his legs reach their stress point, Izuku releases his hold on his muscles, launching him forward in a cloud of dust and leaving 2 small craters where his feet used to be. As Izuku ran at close to Mach 2 speeds, he couldn't believe he was moving as fast as he was. He was moving too fast. Even the perception of a dragonfly was barely giving him the needed visual information to not hit anything. Holy crap, folks. Did you all just see that? Hero course student Izuku Midoriya just rocketed himself towards the other competitors at a speed we didn't even know he could reach. How many trucks does this student have? Yelled Present Mike, excited at seeing one of his students show something new. As Izuku ran, he easily caught up to and surpassed both transfer students, leaving one of them shocked at his speed and the other wanting to push himself even more. Hell yeah, cousin. You really got a need for speed, said the hunter, pushing the earth that was carrying him to move faster. As Izuku approached the minefield, he could see Bakugo trying to hit Todoroki with an explosion and Todoroki trying to freeze him. Realizing that they were distracted and that Todoroki didn't lay down ice to make it over the mines made Izuku's plan all the more possible. And some may ask him what that grand plan was, and his simple reply would be, just need to run over the mines faster than they can detonate, is what Izuku would tell them. But in the moment Izuku had a different thought going through his head. This is stupid, this is stupid, this is stupid. How the hell did I convince myself to do this? Is what Izuku was thinking in the moment as he ran over the minefield with explosions detonating behind him with every step he took. Hearing the explosions, both Todoroki and Bakugo stopped attacking each other long enough to see Izuku go sprinting past them as a wall of explosions followed behind him. Seeing that he was getting away and that the wall of explosive force was right on their heels, both Bakugo and Todoroki used their quirks to try and catch up to Izuku, with Todoroki blasting ice out his right foot, pushing himself forward, and Bakugo continually blasting himself forward with his blast speed turbo super move. Unfortunately, the 2 hero students wouldn't make it to Izuku fast enough to beat him or even outrun the explosions as the cloud of dust and force hit both of them, sending them in opposite directions. Not wanting to lose, Todoroki blasted a massive wall of ice at Izuku, who had just made it to the other side of the minefield. As he wanted to continue running to make it to the finish as soon as possible, Izuku didn't notice the wall of ice that started to swallow him up until he ran face first into the ice wall that now surrounded him. Whoa, what is this? Izuku Midoriya just ran past both Katsuki Bakugo and Shoto Todoroki, causing an explosion to take them out of the first place spot. But before making it too far was engulfed in a massive chunk of ice, announced Present Mike. VIP room. Oh no, Izuku, said Inko, with Hisashi holding his wife, knowing that she would be worried about their son. Come on, I know you can get out of this. Don't let this be what stops you from keeping your promise, thought Tiamat, holding the arms of her chair with a little more force than what was needed to break them. Sports Festival obstacle course. Everyone behind the leading 3 were shocked to see Izuku get frozen in ice. Some of them were worried about the green-haired boy, and some were happy that he was taken out of the race, given that they now had a chance to get a higher placement. But one of them wasn't even thinking about the race when they saw what happened to Izuku. Izuku, yelled Hunter, worried about his cousin, knowing the effects frostbite and freezing can do to someone. As the earthbender made it to the block of ice, not caring about Bakugo and Todoroki, who went past him along with the other transfer girl, Hunter started to bang on the ice, feeling the vibrations coming off the ice, giving him a rough idea of what was happening inside the block of ice. Quirk ability. Using the earth around him, Hunter is able to use a type of echolocation using vibrations in the ground, which is why he doesn't wear shoes most of the time, or wears sandals. As the hunter was trying to figure out if his cousin was okay, he got a feeling that he should make distance from the massive ice block. Listening to his senses, Hunter jumped back just in time for the block of ice to crack and shattered out in a decent-sized burst, releasing a cold mist into the air. Looking back at the mist, the hunter could see a large shape moving in the mist, but the sense that told him what had happened was his seismic sense, which told him that it was a rotating ball. Confused to sense this, Hunter was soon happy as the ball went rolling past him at a great speed, tearing up the ground as it went past him. Grinning at the sight, Hunter ran after the ball with the earth under him pushing him forward at speed. "Get him, Zoo!" yelled Hunter at his cousin. "Look at this, folks. Our resident animal expert has found a way out of his icy prison and is in hot pursuit of first place," yelled Present Mike. Barely hearing the announcement over the constant explosions he was dodging and ice walls he was throwing at the people behind him, Todoroki was slightly angered at the fact Izuku got out of his ice so fast. Unfortunately for Todoroki, though, he didn't have time to think about that too much, given that Bakugo was firing explosions at him both to slow him down and to allow himself to get past Todoroki, while the female transfer student was running extremely fast after the two boys and slowly catching up to them. As the three leading students continued to fight for first place, a massive ball of what looked like armored plates came up behind them. As Izuku approached the three, he changed back into his normal form before changing his legs back to a locust and jumped towards the leading competitors. As he lunged forward with his jumping power, Izuku got a sense of something coming towards him. Looking behind him, he could see a dust cloud approaching him at an alarming rate, but as he looked closer he could see it was Melissa charging towards him with golden lightning dancing off her body. What's this, folks? Our four-way fight for first place just turned into a 5-person mosh pit match. WHO will be the one to win first place. Will it be the frosty heatwave Shoto Todoroki, the explosive spirit Katsuki Bakugo, our exotic transfer Kiri Suyu Akimono, the superwoman Melissa Shield, or our wild beast student Izuku Midoriya? Only time will tell, but watch close so as not to miss. WHO will take the first place position in this obstacle course race, yelled Present Mike in excitement. 5 contestants, 1 first place position. This was the thought going through Melissa and Izuku's heads as the two caught up to the other 3 leading students. With both Katsuki and Todoroki making obstacles of their own to get around and not knowing the quirk of the other transfer student, neither Melissa or Izuku could make a sound plan to take first place. That was until the entrance back into the stadium appeared ahead of all of them, giving Izuku an idea. "Oh, here it comes, folks, the final stretch. Will we see someone to the lead far ahead of the others, or will this be a 5-way photo finish? Let's see," yelled Present Mike sitting on the edge of his seat. "Come on, I have pushed myself to my limit and I am still stuck in 5th place. I can't let him see me like this. I have to show him that I can do this," thought Melissa, who was slowly gaining on the leading group but not fast enough to get there before they crossed the finish line. When she looked forward to the leading 3, she could see them fighting for the first place position, but when she looked at Izuku, who was in the 4th place position, she could see him smiling like he had already won the race. While bounding towards the finish gate, Izuku had a plan to get first place and do it in style. Feeling the wind blow past his face, Izuku started his plan. By creating tubes in his legs that were similar to Ida, but unlike Ida's exhaust ports, Izuku's had highly compressed chemicals in them ready to burst out. Doing the same thing to his hands, Izuku could feel the strain on his body increase from the changes, but increasing his adrenaline output was reducing the pain he was feeling and increasing the amount of force he could put on his legs to propel himself forward. Putting the finishing touches on his plan, Izuku gave himself the speed of the California Mite and started to gain on the leading 3 at a crazy pace. Blasting explosion after explosion, Bakugo was not happy, given that no matter what he did he couldn't get Todoroki to stop passing him or stop him from passing into first place for long. "Damn it, just give up. I'm not letting you or anybody beat me in this. I'm going to take that number 1 spot and ride it all the way to the top," yelled Bakugo as he continued to fire off explosions, with Todoroki making multiple ice walls to block them. Unfortunately for Bakugo and Todoroki, they forgot that they were not the only ones looking for first place. In a vial of golden blonde, Ketsuyu jumped over both of the distracted boys and landed in front of them before dashing forward, taking the lead from them. Muchas gracias, señores. You two are good at distracting each other, but not me. Adios, said Ketsuyu with her Hispanic accent, confusing the two boys given neither of them spoke Spanish. But the confusion didn't last long, when Bakugo glared at Ketsuyu with rage in his eyes. Why, you get back here, yelled a now angry Bakugo, blasting a massive explosion behind him, propelling himself forward with great speed. Right next to him was Todoroki with an even bigger scowl than what he had before, pushing his quirk to make a massive ice wall to stop the golden hair beauty. And there it is, folks, one of our transfer students has just taken the lead, but both Bakugo and Todoroki are hot on her heels. This is absolutely crazy. Nothing could top this now, yelled Present Mike with great enthusiasm, but he would soon have to retract his words. Feeling the final changes take place in his body, Izuku knew he was ready. But before he enacted his plan, he heard a voice next to him. Come on, I can make it, said Melissa to herself as she slowly matched Izuku's pace. Seeing the girl make Izuku surprised for a moment before that surprise was replaced with determination at the sight of one of his classmates pushing themselves to the limit, making him want to push even further than that. Hey Melissa, don't give up, you got this. But unfortunately you will have to be happy with a different position other than first, cause that place is mine, said Izuku with a smile that was about to split his face. Hearing his words, Melissa was confused for a moment, but then she realized what he said, but before she could even reply, a massive boom sounded next to her, displacing the air around her and making her lose her balance slightly. As she corrected herself, she could see that Izuku was no longer next to her, he wasn't even next to Bakugo or Todoroki. Both Bakugo and Todoroki had shock in their eyes. As to them, the world was in slow motion, with Izuku blasting past them with what looked like flames blasting out of his legs like some kinda jet engine. As a second passed, even Ketsuyu looked like she was standing still as Izuku went past her, the only difference being that she could see him moving and see the grin on his face, but she could also see his determination simply from how far he was pushing himself. To Izuku, he couldn't feel a thing. Not the ground under his feet, not the wind flying past him, not even the movements of his body, and especially not his legs that may have been pushing him forward but were also the most damaged part of his body, looking like they had a cheese grater rub against them for an hour. Just one more step. I just need to keep moving forward. This is all that Izuku could think of as he moved towards the entrance to the arena. As soon as Izuku entered the tunnel, he started to feel the pain from his legs hitting him, but all he needed was 2 more steps. 2 more steps and then he would be in the light that was ahead of him. But to Izuku the pain was excruciating, making every second that passed felt like an eternity. 1 more step, that's all I need, was the leading thought in Izuku's head, which was the only thing keeping him from passing out due to the pain. Come on. And as Izuku thought this, he finally took his last step, and as he entered the light, silence and blinding light. What happened? I can't see anything. Did I make it? I can't move. Must have pushed it too far. These were the final thoughts of Izuku before all he saw was darkness. Holy crap, folks, did you all see that? In just a flash we have our first place winner. Izuku Mydoriya, and look folks, we even have our second, third, fourth, and fifth place competitors as well, announced Present Mike. Well, that was interesting. It was almost like he copied Ida's quirk. This gives me an idea, thought Aizawa, with an evil-looking grin on his face that freaked out Present Mike. Back down on the field, the ones that made it to the finish line could hear the roaring cheers of the crowd, but none of them were enjoying the cheers of the audience. Once Katsuki passed the finish line, he was slightly mad that Izuku beat him again, but the anger was quickly replaced with worry as he saw Izuku laying on the ground and his legs bleeding and slightly spasming. Todoroki, on the other hand, was filled with a silent anger as he unconsciously let off some steam from his left side as he looked at Izuku. Ketsuyu was shocked and amazed at the lengths that Izuku took to win. But once Melissa passed the finish line, she had very little time to stop as she quickly made her way to Izuku after seeing the state he was in. Izuku, are you okay? Please say something, asked a worried Melissa. Deku, why did you push yourself so hard? You know that your body can only handle so many changes, let alone a change you haven't done before, said Bakugo, worried that Izuku might be eliminated from the sports festival because of his injuries. As more and more students passed the finish line, there were some that took in the cheers of the audience, and then there were some like Itsuka, Kami, and Pony who ran over to Izuku, who was just now being loaded onto a stretcher after Recovery Girl deemed it safe to move him. I already know how you kids work. If you would like, you can come with me to make sure he is okay, said the Recovery Girl, walking next to Izuku's stretcher, with Katsuki, Kami, Itsuka, Pony, and Melissa following behind the pro hero. After the group of students left the field and the rest of the students finished the race, President Mike continued his announcements. And that is it, folks. The end of the first challenge for the UA First Year Sports Festival has concluded. Due to some of the students being exhausted and tired, we will take a short break to let them get some food and rest. So in the meantime, I would suggest that you all stop by some of the stores and see what some of our clubs and other students have prepared for everyone, said President Mike, turning his mic off when he was done. Hey Eraser, I'm going to get some snacks. You want to come? Asked President Mike. No, I am going to use this time to catch up on some sleep, said Aizawa, getting into his sleeping bag and falling asleep, hoping that his students are ready for the next round and that Izuku would recover. To be continued. I hope you enjoyed this story. Also remember to subscribe and like this video. See you in the next video.